What's happening, guys? Let me make sure my mic's working. Okay, we're good to go. Impromptu live stream. I was just sitting looking into some info for the Wisconsin game this weekend, trying to make sure I have a good video, preview video, even though I'm sure a lot of people are checked out and don't really care what my preview says because they all just assume we're going to lose, and what's the point until we get a new head coach. So either way, I'm still going to put out the Wisconsin preview. And while I was scrolling through, I went back and did some research on the press conferences from today, and I'm not sure if you guys watched those or not. I posted the best parts of the press conference, at least the tweets about it. Posted those on my Instagram story, and I've got those pulled up here, so we'll talk about those. But yeah, I just wanted to say what's up to you guys because I won't be able to go live this week. I leave on Thursday morning to go to Omaha for the game this weekend, so there won't be a live stream this week like I normally have. But that's why I'm doing it now. I just thought, let's just, get one out of the way. So what's happening, guys? Mike, you said you're definitely not checked out. Every week you get sucked back in. I'm going to keep it real with you guys. Because there was a point when I felt the same as you. And I'm not checked out. But I am, what's the right word? I'm not as enthused about the games anymore. Like, I watch them and I don't have an expectation. I don't have that fire inside of me as a fan where it's like, yeah, I want to win. I don't care. It's weird. It's a weird feeling. it just feels like it's kind of over. And you guys have all felt that feeling before. I mean, we're in year 6, 7 in a row of not competing in November. So it's just, disheartening. I still watch because I'm entertained and I want to see what happens. And it's still reality TV. It's my version of reality TV. Some people watch the Kardashians or Basketball Wives or whatever. I can't sit through any of that. So I watch college football. I like to see coaches get fired up and yell at refs. I like to see players talk shit. I just like to see all the drama that, goes on through the course of the season. And I've talked about that before with you guys. So I'm not checked out. I'm still thoroughly engaged and I'm making sure that I know what's going on. But I just don't care. If we lose, we lose. If we win, I honestly don't think I'd be that happy if we won. Like, okay, you guys know I've done some live streams where I got pumped, and I can't wait for next season because when we do have wins, hopefully we have a decent season. When we do have wins that are meaningful, I'm going to be so wild on the live streams after games. I mean, we've had days where I had 900 to 1,000 people on here where I was in my most emotional state, just going in. And I just can't wait to get back to that point. And yeah, we're a year away from that. But, with this next coach hire, who knows what's going to happen. If we got a really big name or something unexpected happens, I mean, you're going to get some emotion from me. So that's what I want to get back to. That's what's fun for me, giving you guys the rawness, right? Anyway, the point was, I think we were talking about, let me see. Oh, we're talking about getting sucked back in. When Nebraska loses or Nebraska wins for these last couple games, I think I'm going to be a little bit more excited for a win than I normally would be. Because if we would have, not Michigan, if we would have beaten Minnesota the other day, I would have been like, yeah, whatever, it is what it is. It doesn't feel like it means very much at this point. We should beat Minnesota. But with Wisconsin and Iowa, 2 teams who we haven't beaten in a really long time, it'd feel really good just to squeeze one out, whether or not it means anything. And yeah, it doesn't really mean anything. So it would just be nice to finally overcome and finally reach the peak of this uphill battle that we've been trying to, get to the top of. It's just, we'll see what happens. Either way, I think that we're going to all be checked back in 2 weeks here? So it doesn't really matter. 2 weeks from now, I'm going to be firing content. I know the views are going to go back up because the views have been down. It's been hard for me to make videos. But once we have a bunch of new info, the transfer portal hits, we find out which guys are leaving, which guys are going to stay, which guys are going to come in. I think that's going to make for some really interesting storylines. Obviously, when we get the new head coach, we're going to have to talk about his OCs, his support staff, everything else in between. So there'll be a lot that we're going to be interested in. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Sports Studios says this channel's going to go crazy when we take dubs. I'm not going to lie to you. I think this is a 50,000 subscriber channel if Nebraska is playing at a Michigan level. Like Nebraska's getting to the playoff or the Rose Bowl. I honestly think this channel would explode because I would have so much to talk about, right? I'd have to do videos every day. Right now, I can only make a couple videos a week, and then I can go live a few times, but I can't go crazy because there's not enough positive to talk about. Let's say we had guys who were potential NFL or potential award winners, like a Heisman candidate. I could do full breakdown videos about them. Right now, all there is for me to talk about is the breakdown of the loss and the kind of the analysis for the team going forward, like a Wisconsin this week, and how we could potentially upset them. Outside of that, there's nothing really that people give a shit about because we don't care about any of the coaches. We don't care about anything going on with any of these players because most of them are underperforming severely, and I don't think that's their fault. I think a lot of it's the culture and the coaches. But yeah, it just kind of sucks. So yeah, we'll see what happens in the future for the channel, but I do have a strong belief that if Trev Alberts hires the right head coach, it's going to be a very happy future for me and for all of us here. It'll just be a lot more fun. Football will be fun again. Right now, football's fun. College football is fun to watch, right? It just sucks that we don't get to be as excited as a lot of the other fans do about their team. I was thinking about how so many fans check out towards the end of the year when their team doesn't do well. I'll give you an example. Kentucky. They're a bowl team this year. They didn't live up to expectations, but could you imagine if Nebraska was a 7-win team in position to win 8 games? We, as a fan base, would still be so engaged and so excited. The stadium would still be full. My channel would be popping. People would be looking up information like crazy. They'd still be rocking their Nebraska stuff. So just get us back to that. Just get us into the door so that we don't have to check out early November. This year, it's just felt like college football season ended 3 weeks ago. That just... Okay. Garrett, thank you for the $20 super chat. Put it towards the beer fund, deep from the heart of Texas. At least we're not A&M, and we fire our coach for a Sunbelt loss. Well, thank you for the $20. Definitely will go towards my beer this week, because I'm definitely going to go out a couple times when I'm in Nebraska. I'll go out once in Omaha, once in Lincoln, and then probably again Lincoln Saturday night after the game, or Saturday afternoon after the game. But yeah, things could be worse. We could be Texas A&M. Nebraska has never been in a situation where they could be like Texas A&M, fortunately. Let me give you guys some insight on what's going on at Texas A&M if you don't follow, because I know a lot of people just follow Nebraska or just follow the Big Ten. A&M hired Jimbo Fisher, former national champion at Florida State. When they brought him in, they guaranteed him, I think, $75 million, extended him, so he's up to like $100 million all in for this guy for 10 years, right? You want to hope that he gets a Lincoln Riley situation where you bring him in for that huge amount and then he can immediately turn your team into a playoff contender, which Lincoln did. He didn't do that. He got A&M, I think, to 9 wins once, 8 wins a couple times, 7 wins once, something like that. Nothing extreme. Nothing that would be worth $100 million, or the investment that they've put into the assistant coaching pool, or the investment that they've put into, I'm sure part of it was illegal before NIL, but the NIL fund to get players to come to A&M, right? He has completely failed, because now he's in year 5, 4, something like that. Don't quote me, but it's one of those. He's in year 4 or 5 or 6 maybe. He is now 3-7. They just lost to Auburn. Auburn has their own issues. Auburn fired their head coach. They now have their version of Mickey Joseph coaching them, who's not even as credible as Mickey Joseph. It's Cadillac Williams. If you guys remember, I think we played against him in the 2005 whatever bowl game that would have been. I was young. I would have been 12 years old. But I faintly remember playing Ole Miss and playing Auburn in bowl games. And I think he was on that team. He was number 24. Who knows? This is my 12-year-old brain thinking. But the point is, Cadillac Williams beat this guy, Jimbo Fisher, who's making crazy money. Cadillac Williams is trying to repair a broken program, just like Mickey Joseph is. He's not even trying to repair it. He's just trying to keep it stable and make sure the fan base is still engaged. And they were. If you watched the Auburn game the other night, which I did watch the end of it, they ended up winning that game, I think, by 3, and the fans were going crazy. It was a night game, intense environment. Even though their season's done, they fired their coach, and they're kind of like us. So Texas A&M I didn't finish the story of Texas A&M. Let me go back. Texas A&M went out and recruited this insane class. I think it was the best recruiting class in the history of college football. I think it was. They spent a ton of money on NIL to get that, and a lot of those players aren't going to stay now. It's a mess. So Jimbo's not going to get fired. He's won 8 games, 7 games in the past few years. He is going to be on the hot seat, though, because Texas A&M has unlimited money. They got oil money down there in Texas. They got farm money. So, yeah, they're going to get rid of him eventually if he doesn't turn things around. And the way their culture's going, it's hard to believe he will. He's going to have to fire some of the people on his staff. He's in a position like Nick Saban. I think Nick Saban has to fire Bill O'Brien, and he's going to have to fire his DC. Fortunately for Bill, he'll get a job somewhere else, so he won't have to be fired. But Bill O'Brien will not be invited back to Alabama next year after what we've seen from their offense this year. And Jimbo Fisher's assistants at Texas A&M, I don't think they're going to be back either. So we could be like that. We could be in a position where we went and hired I don't know, because none of the coaches who Trev's going to hire, in my opinion, are going to be as flashy as a Jimbo or as big of a name as a Jimbo. I think he's going to settle on a Matt Rule or a Chris Kleiman. Maybe if we got lucky, I just don't see it. But Dave Aranda. And we wouldn't be expecting 10 wins or 11 wins out the gate like A&M was and like A&M should be. So anyway, just wanted to give you guys that because it could be worse. I promise you. Right now, things are bad. And I mean, let me not sugarcoat things. We are in the freaking gutter, okay? We all know that. But at least we didn't go and hit our home run, or at least swing for the home run and miss, because that's what A&M did. They said, we're lining up for a grand slam. We corked the bat. We made sure that we have a little league pitcher, and we've got the bases loaded. We have all the money, all the resources, fan support at an all-time high. We're in the SEC, and we're ready to go. Grand slam. And with his cork bat, Jimbo missed repeatedly. I think he's on strike 2, going on strike 3. There is no other option next year. He is out if he doesn't make it work next year. So just keep that in mind. We're not A&M. I'm coming back. I'm back to chat. It's a lot of messages, guys. I'm glad that you guys are still checked in. You're still focusing. JJ, you're in Bangkok? Oh, yeah, you have told me that before. Awesome. Well, guys, I want to talk about... Nintendo says, I want to know where the Corn Craze party is going to be after the Wisconsin game. Okay, let's talk about that real quick. So, I'm going to be staying in Omaha Thursday night. I'll be staying there Friday night as well, but I'll be in Lincoln all day Friday. So, I'm thinking, a lot of people have asked me, maybe I go to a bar on Thursday night in Omaha. I'm not sure. You guys will have to give me a suggestion, tell me where to go, and I'll do like a mini meetup. I'll post it on Twitter, Discord, Instagram. I'll post it on the YouTube, and we can do like a meetup on Thursday night at a bar, and that would be cool if I could meet, 5 of you, 10 of you, however many. Then on Friday, I'm in Lincoln all day. I'll probably go to dinner in Lincoln that night. Then Saturday, immediately after the game, I'll be outside the stadium and probably by that big statue. I can't remember what the name of it is, but I'll probably be out by the statue. And after that, I'll probably go get food and go to the bars in downtown Lincoln. And then I'll post where I'm going to be at. And then people can come link up with me there. So that's kind of my meetup plan. But I post all of that on social media so you guys can find me. And I'll try to give you guys as much notice as I can, like 6 hours, 10 hours, whatever, the night before. But you guys give me suggestions, drop comments below, whatever. And I'm open to it all because obviously I'm not too familiar. I mean, I've been to Omaha and Lincoln plenty of times, but I'm not too familiar with specific places. I don't go enough, right? So, and I don't have any friends there. I have a couple friends, but not like friends I go to visit. You know what I mean? Anyway, that's that. Real quick, I wanted to talk about the quotes today from the press conference, just so we get an idea of what's going on this week. And I'll get more into depth during my Wisconsin preview for some of this, but we'll skim over it. I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on it. I will be reading chat, so let me know your thoughts on all these things, and we'll talk about it together, because I think it's important we talk about all this together. It's not about me and talking at you. It's us having a conversation. It just so happens that I'm the only one with the voice, and you all got ears, and you got your fingers typing. All right, so Mickey said that Logan was better today. Logan was better today. He's been beat up, but he's better. Threw the ball around a little bit, ran pretty well. To me, that's not too inspiring. Is that a quarterback who's going to be ready to roll? I don't know. The problem is Logan already has his own issues because Logan's not practicing with the ones often enough. He's been practicing with the twos a little bit more since he and Chubb have gotten more reps, but he looked a little raw in that Michigan game. Obviously, didn't get to see him much in Minnesota. So being banged up on top of it doesn't sound too promising. Chubba's not going to play. He's got a high ankle sprain. So Chubba's done for the year. They said the backup's Garrett Sinek. He's a walk-on. People really liked him. He had a touchdown in the spring game. He'll be backing up Logan. And then hopefully, if we're lucky, we're going to get some action from Casey Thompson. And it says that Casey sounds probable, at least by this guy, Kevin. Kevin says he sounds probable and that he's going to practice all week and will be monitored closely. Honestly, without Casey, I think Nebraska loses this game by 10. They're a 13-point dog. I don't think Wisconsin's going to run up the score. I don't think they're going to be able to. They just don't have that high-powered of an offense, and Nebraska's defense has been playing decent. So Wisconsin's bad enough that Nebraska can keep it close, just like they did against Minnesota. I would compare Wisconsin to Minnesota at this point. Culturally, they're in a worse spot than Minnesota, but they're getting their stuff sorted out. Anyway, if Casey does play, I think Nebraska has a legit shot to win this game. It could be a 3-4 point game. Honestly, I think it could be 3 or 4 points. And those are two football numbers. That's win by a touchdown and then have a backdoor field goal or kick a field goal and the other team scores a touchdown. So 3 or 4 is my expectation if he plays. I really hope he does, but it's still, who knows? I don't even know if he can grip the ball as well as he normally can. So even if we do get Casey, is Casey ready to roll and throw the ball the way he was throwing it before? Because if he can't, we're still pretty limited, right? I don't know. Hopefully. We hope for the best. Expect the worst, expect the loss, but hopefully things go our way. Garrett Nelson, this was a pretty promising tweet I saw before I even watched the press conference. I was pretty shocked by this tweet, actually. Garrett Nelson says he won't be walking on senior day. By the way, because some people have asked me in my DMs what it means. So walking on senior day means that you're a senior. This is your last game in Memorial Stadium, and you walk so everyone can clap for you. They throw up your picture on the big screen, your mom's standing out there with flowers, your parents hug you, they take a picture, and then you're done. You're a senior, you're out next year no matter what. That's what walking means. Garrett would be the epitome of a guy who needs to walk, okay? He would need to walk because he's been such a fundamental part of this program and this defense, and he's been the epitome of what we've expected from a Nebraska football player in terms of work ethic, dedication and leadership. So you'd want this guy to walk, and he's going to walk at some point. For him to say he's not going to walk, and you might say, well, he'll just he'll leave or he'll come back next year or whatever. No, not come back next year. He'll end up walking later on, and even though he says it doesn't matter. No, if he's not going to walk, he's not going to walk. And there's a chance that you can walk without having to stay. So let's say I'm trying to collect my thoughts. I've got a lot going on in my brain. Let's say you're going to go ahead and walk, but you haven't made a decision yet on whether or not you're going to stay. At least you walk so that you got that out of the way so you can leave and feel good about it, right? Otherwise, if Garrett doesn't walk and then he leaves, it's just a very uncomfortable feeling. Anyway, this is all way too much information. It's way unnecessary. It's way overanalyzing this small thing, but I'm just trying to give you guys an idea since I got a lot of DMs of people trying to understand what this means. He said, I don't know when he was asked if he's going to be back at Nebraska next year, but he smiled when he said it. Basically, to me, this means Garrett Nelson's coming back, which is insanity because he's going to be in his 5th year. He's been through, I think, 2 coaches. He came in for Scott Frost, but he was recruited by Mike Riley's staff. That means he's seen 1 rebuild already that failed. You would think he'd be burnt out. How he's not burnt out, I don't know. He doesn't even know who Nebraska's next head coach is going to be yet. And he's saying, I'm going to come back. Or he's at least implying it. That's incredible to me. Let me know, chat, what do you think? Is that a surprise to you? Are you surprised that Garrett would come back? Because to me it was. Obviously, he hasn't had the best year. And I don't want to bash him or anything or make it sound like it's his fault, because it's not. But that dude's not getting drafted. It's a fact. He's going to go to the NFL potentially and be like a JoJo Doman. He deserves more than that, though. He's such a hard worker, such a key leader, and a key piece of this defense if they're playing well, like he was last year. He deserves more, so I'm hoping he comes back. A lot of people like him. Nelson's a class act. G. Nelly's a true Nebraskan. Nelly wants to die for this team. I wasn't shocked by it. I'm surprised, honestly. You guys might not be surprised, but I was surprised that he's not going to at least walk to give himself the chance to leave. So, some people are saying it feels like Garrett knows something. I don't think anybody knows anything. I'm just going to keep it real. I think that everyone's left in the dark at this point. Trev Alberts hasn't made a decision, and if he has made a decision, he hasn't told the team yet. He may be implying to Mickey that he's safe, right? But there's no way he's going to the team and saying, hey, here's your next head coach. Shh, don't tell anybody. It's going to be a surprise. That's not happening. So, yeah, I'm not sure what to think of all this, but it is pretty surprising to see that players want to stay. Another player, I forgot I didn't even mention this one. Bang, bang. Mickey Joseph says he's not expecting Trey Palmer to walk on senior day festivities. Again, he could walk and then come back anyway. So why not just walk? That's a strong statement. That's I'm not walking because I'm coming back. He says he expects it. So this isn't straight from Palmer's mouth. We don't know what's going to happen. He very well could still walk. And Mickey just guessed he wasn't going to based off a conversation from last week, right? But based on his production these last few weeks, I mean, where's he fall in the draft? 6th round? 5th? 7th? I don't know. Do you, if you're Trey Palmer, say, hey, I would have had a really good season this year if I would have had a quarterback for a little bit longer. If the offense would have been a little bit stronger overall and wouldn't have been so reliant on me, I would have been able to be more consistent and probably popped off for 100 plus a game rather than have a 200-yard game, a 0-yard game, a 75-yard game, XYZ, right? Yeah. I won't be surprised if he comes back based off how these last few weeks have gone for him because his draft status has dipped quite a bit. But I would be really excited to have him back. If he came back, he would be one of the top receivers in the Big Ten going into the next year. He'd be on the top of all the award lists. So that'd be really positive. Not surprised they're practicing. Not surprised at all. Yeah. So basically, everybody's on the not surprised about Garrett, which I'm surprised by. JJ says Palmer would be an undrafted free agent. Trey needs another season to help the draft stock. Yep, I think so. Vince says Casey's not walking per Coach Mickey. I did not listen to the whole press conference. I listened to a piece of it. I got to listen to the rest of it. I don't know that answer. Maybe someone else can answer it. If Casey doesn't walk, that's really promising as well. That'd be awesome. So, yeah, I'm excited either way because I think we're going to get a lot of this talent back. I don't know about O'Shawn. That was another one that people were asking me today. They said, is O'Shawn going to walk? Is O'Shawn coming back next year? Man, I feel so bad for O'Shawn. O'Shawn got so jammed up. I don't want to just bash this coaching staff all out because we got another 2 weeks with them, right? I don't think Mike Dawson was the right guy to be the coach on the defensive line. I don't think Garrett Nelson or O'Shawn got a fair shot this year. And they should have been in better positions. And the whole defense, I think, struggled because of coaching in a lot of ways and because of culture. If all those guys came back, I know for sure they're going to have a better year next year. So that's why I'm hopeful for Garrett to boost his draft stock, right? And same with O'Shawn and everybody else on that defense. But they were all just, I feel bad for all the players. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to bash the coaching staff too hard. It is what it is. And the reason I even brought that up was because Casey Thompson. Casey was put in a position this year where, like Adrian, he had to do everything. With no Casey, what did we see? No offense. We got completely jammed up when we lost our one key piece. That's what happened with Adrian last year. When Adrian couldn't go, last year, every year, when Adrian couldn't go, Nebraska could not function. The staff put too much emphasis on skill. We had fantastic skill players across the board, and we just didn't build out the trenches the right way. We didn't have the right size. We didn't have the right technique. There were so many issues there. Ugh, it pains me. I got to chill. Gets me emotional. We're a couple weeks away, and we're going to get back to this situation with the right head coach, with a guy like Mickey Joseph. I really hope Mickey's here, by the way, guys. There's just so much unknown still. I don't want to make too many predictions or just guesses because none of us know the answer. But as long as Mickey's here, I know he's going to have this team going on the right track, no matter who the head coach is, right? Mickey Joseph noted for his recruiting excellence. This is another quote from the presser today. For his recruiting excellence, Nebraska should recruit in California in the years ahead as USC and UCLA enter the Big Ten. But the Huskers must have a high standard in going out west. If we get out there, we're going to get a draft pick. That's a fact. So there's a player who played at my high school. So I went to a high school called Servite in Santa Ana, or in Anaheim. It's a rival to Modern Day, which is one of the best programs in the country. They're a rival to John Bosco, another one of the best programs in the country, all right? We had tons of 4 and 5 stars when I was going to school there, all right? They got the Servite receiver from last year. The guy was great at Servite. This year at Arizona, he's like their number 1 or number 2 receiver. And he had a touchdown in this game, this Arizona game, against UCLA last week. And Arizona beat UCLA. They weren't ranked top 10. They were like 13. But UCLA was a top 10 team going into last week, power ranking wise. If you can go and get players like that, Arizona did. If Nebraska can, immediate impact. And it's not just that Nebraska needs to get a great front, 11 guys on offense or a front 11 on defense. They need to build the depth. They need to make sure that when we get into November or October even, when guys are banged up, that we have guys behind them who are ready to go. No knock on Phelan Sanford. No knock on any walk-ons, because there have been plenty of walk-ons who've worked from nothing and became really good players. And Phelan Sanford's been a stud. But how many other schools that are competing at the highest level, competing the way that Mickey Joseph says he wants to compete? Mickey Joseph has said it himself. We're not chasing Iowa. We're not chasing Wisconsin or Minnesota. We're chasing Ohio State. We're chasing Michigan. How many times have you seen Ohio State or Michigan roll out walk-ons? There are the rare occurrences when those guys pop out. But Nebraska needs to have elite talent ready to roll. It's a fact. And yeah, recruiting rankings don't matter and all that. I totally agree, but I'm just saying. Dewey, thank you for becoming a member of the channel. Guys, when you're a member of the channel, it makes it so I can answer your questions faster, I see them quicker, and I can respond to your comments because I get a lot of comments on my videos now, so I always go and respond to the members' comments first. Brian says they're staying because Joseph is going to focus on OL and DL and overall quality depth. And I think that is a good point. I think Mickey does know that to win in the Big Ten, you got to win in the trenches. To win in the Big Ten, you got to run the ball. You got to win at the line of scrimmage. And if Nebraska can just do that, next year, this season's bound to be better. 3 wins is unrealistic. You have to be bad, not okay. It's like if you're an okay football team, you'll inevitably win 5 games, 6 games, 7 games, especially against the teams we played against this year, right? If you're a bad football team, that's when you win 3. Nebraska has been bad. So anyway, if they can fix the O-line and the D-line just enough to be serviceable, get a push, I really have hopes for next year. I really have hopes. And I think that if you get the right guy in the center, like O'Shawn and Garrett are a little bit smaller for defensive ends, right? Like maybe they're better fit as linebackers. Like they're good pass rushers. Maybe they're better at blitzing from the linebacker spot. I don't know the answers, right? The point is, if you can get a little bit more size on the interior there, find a guy who's 300 pounds for the nose, like we had with Damian Daniels. That will really help us. So just some thoughts. We'll see. Getting back to chat. Travis says O'Shawn probably hates that he left for TCU or they left TCU. You know, I wanted to talk about this because I thought about this one day. I was like, man, is O'Shawn upset that he left TCU? And the more I thought about it, probably not. It is what it is. It's life. You know, things happen. If things were going perfect for him at TCU, he probably would have stayed. But he had to go through a coaching change there, and maybe the defense was going to be a little bit different, and he wanted a fresh start for whatever reason. So he still got paid to come to Nebraska. He got some sort of NIL deal. No idea what that number was exactly, but regardless, he got money. He is good. He's still going to be an NFL football player. I don't know how high of a draft pick he'll end up being or if he'll be drafted at all. None of that matters, though. We all make choices. We all do our things in life, and these paths lead us to somewhere else. So I'm sure he's looking at it as, hey, I'm healthy. I'm playing football and doing what I want to do, and I'm making the best of my situation. That's my guess, because O'Shawn seems like a really smart guy. If you guys have watched him talk on camera when he does his interviews, that dude's well-spoken. He's smart. He's really dedicated to his craft. So I'm not worried about O'Shawn. That dude does not care. He's just focused on being the best version of himself, whether that's at Nebraska, TCU, in the NFL, or whatever else he's doing. So just keep that in mind. Don't worry about him or any of these players. We have some really strong-minded players on this team. So that's been a really good thing. Chat. Daniel said, there's no coach in this country who would fire Mickey Joseph. Let's just be real about that. He's a top recruiter, and Frost was lucky to get him here. Thumbs up to Mickey Joseph, not going anywhere. Okay, guys, so I've been so adamant, and this is a point where it's going to contradict what I've said before. I've been so adamant about Mickey being the best wide receivers coach in the country, and Mickey obviously wanting to be in Nebraska, and a coach coming and saying, well, I'm not going to fire Mickey Joseph because this is the best guy I can get. Strong recruiting ties to the state, understands the culture, has a bunch of the players who are already bought in, has a bunch of experience as obviously an associate head coach or whatever his title was, and a recruiting coordinator, receivers coach, all those positive things. My dad told me, and it made me think about things in a different way. If I own a business and the business is screwed up, and then I go and give a guy a chance to fix the business, and that guy thinks he knows what to do, like Mickey does. Mickey says, well, I think we got to do this. And then I bring in another guy above Mickey eventually and say, all right, now you're the one in charge. Mickey now feels like I've got good ideas, and I want to work with you, and we're going to, collaborate, and we're going to make sure this works together. But then that coach is like, no, sit your ass down. I make the rules. That could be the dynamic, and that could be, some friction. I really hope that's not going to happen, but it does happen in corporate America all the time, right? It happens in life all the time. So hopefully we can find a way to get the right coach in who wants to work with Mickey and does see Mickey as a guy with good ideas, and he wants to implement those and doesn't feel like his toes are being stepped on. But that's a riskier run, and that's a reason that a coach might say, hey, you're a great guy, you're a great head coach or great interim head coach and a great receivers coach. You have all these great things, but it's just not going to work if you won't take a back seat, if you won't play your role. I'm in charge, right? So that could be a little funny because right now Mickey's in charge. Right now Mickey runs the show. So just keep it in mind. Don't know how that'll play out, but it is something that was presented to me, and I have to speak on it because it did make me think a little bit differently about how things could go. Husker Nation, thank you for the $20 super chat. What do you think our strategy should be going forward? Who in their right mind wants to come to Nebraska with our seasons being the way they are? Do we blitz the transfer portal and start recruiting from California? Okay, first off, last year's transfer portal, you can say the exact same thing. Who in their right mind wants to come to Nebraska when we've proven to be a dumpster fire? There were a lot of guys. Nebraska landed the number 7 transfer portal class in the country. Go back to 18 to 2021. Look at all those 4 and not 5-star, but highly rated 4-star guys, and then guys borderline 5-star like Wandale Robinson or Thomas Fidone. They came because there's a coach they believe in. They came because there's a vision that was sold to them, and they believed in that vision. They wanted to be a part of something special, and there aren't many schools in the country you can go to with as much support as Nebraska can offer, with as much now NIL as Nebraska can offer, with as much of a brand Nebraska can offer. And if you come to Nebraska, you can build an extremely strong brand as a player. Think about, because a lot of these guys aren't going to play in the NFL, right? Think about all the connections you get just because you can say, I played at Nebraska. You're a super freak compared to everybody else. Look at the state. They worship football players. If you get done playing football in Nebraska and you need to get a job, there are a million people who want to talk to you, interview you, whatever, because you're a guy who's part of the family, right? It's like that at a lot of the big schools, but there just aren't that many big schools, right? What are there? 25 huge schools? If you go to Illinois, it's not the same thing. Minnesota, it's not the same thing. People don't care. So there's a lot to be said for getting into a network and being a football player at a brand as big as the University of Nebraska. That's just one of the 10 reasons you'd come. And if you have a big name coach, that's another one, right? Nebraska's been a dumpster fire in the past, but that's not because the school's trash. It's not because the football field's trash or because all the players are trash. Go look at the recruiting rankings. The problem has been who's been in charge and who's been running the show, who's installed their culture, and all the things that went wrong. If you bring in a guy who obviously has shown in the past that he does things the right way, he can sell this vision to a new person. So think of it that way. Think of it like Twitter with Elon. Elon said, well, I'm going to go and buy Twitter. You've got all these people who didn't like Twitter before who now want to buy into Twitter, right? Just a very simple example. The platform wasn't the problem. It was the people who were in charge. And so now because those people who were in charge are out, there's new people who come on. I think that's a simple way to say it. Definitely need to start recruiting California because USC and UCLA are joining in a couple of years. I don't know how easy it's going to be to recruit California. The West Coast schools are only getting better. Out of nowhere, UCLA came and has been on fire. Oregon is back to usual form. Washington is fantastic now. Arizona is climbing back up. I'm sure Arizona State's going to get a good coach and they're going to get back on track. So the down bad, broken Pac-12 has somehow rose up from the dead. And because of that, it's going to make it a lot harder to recruit the West Coast. There are going to be a lot of players who want to come to the Big Ten, no doubt. And I'm sure being able to play games, twice a year in California or once a year in California with USC and UCLA on the schedule is going to be something positive. But at this point, the big players get so much money from their NIL deals, they don't care. CJ Stroud has a Rolls Royce. A Rolls Royce is $350,000. That guy does not care about flying his mom and his dad out to every single game for Ohio State. What? It costs him $750 a ticket, $1,500 a game times 12 games. Come on. This is like peasant money for these players now. It's nothing. It costs them $15,000 a year to take care of their family. And their NIL deals can pay for part of that. Like their NIL deals probably have sponsorships packages where they're like, hey, we're going to give you all this money, plus we're going to house your parents for XYZ games, So money's just not a big deal. I'm not sure what the future of college football looks like because of that. But I do think a lot of California players are much more willing to spread their wings and go to other states, regardless of USC and UCLA or anything else. Matthew says, why do you think Sue has the ability to be a D-line coach? Not everyone can be a good coach or translate their skills to other players. I know you're not responding to me or asking me that question because I didn't say anything about Sue, but I will back you. It would be really interesting to see Ndamukong Suh as a Nebraska coach because he has the experience. He has, probably would be able to recruit really well. He probably would have some good ideas about coaching, but because he hasn't used any of those skills outside of football as a coach, at least not on a high level, it would feel weird to have Ndamukong Suh as part of an elite staff, right? My guess is when we hire this new coach, we're going to get a pretty strong staff. And if you have a really strong staff, then you have one guy who's kind of learning on the go, be a little iffy to me, especially in a position group where we need to make sure that gets fixed. It's kind of like the offensive line. Do you bring in a guy who's a maybe offensive line coach like Donovan Raiola? Not knocking Raiola. He might be okay. But to me, he's a maybe, right? Can we afford a maybe? Not at this point. No, sir, I don't think so. Kyle says California players are weak. We need Texas boys. Yeah, it's just so false. It's just so false. California breeds some of the best football players in the country. Najee Harris over at Alabama came from Northern California. Obviously, C.J. Stroud is from California. Chris Olave is from San Diego. There are so many recent champions who come from California, and because of sheer population and because there's so much money here and people are so dedicated to spending their money on their kids, these guys get development from a super early age. They are professional athletes when they are 14. I can tell you from experience. You are getting the best of the best when you're in these certain places in California. So, yeah, if Nebraska can get some more good California players, then things could change. There's a reason Mickey said it. There's a reason that he posted this quote, because there are draft picks here. It's just a fact. And there are great football players in Florida and Texas and everywhere else, but there are a lot of them where I live. Just a fact. Let's talk about another quote from the presser. Travis Vokalek said that Mickey Joseph put up 2012 on the board on Tuesday. That's the last time Nebraska beat Wisconsin on the football field. I remember that game. I think I was at my mom's house watching it. So Nebraska wore the all red uniforms with the big black N on the chest. And that was 10 freaking years ago. They got close a couple times since. The year that Andy Janovich, 2015, it had to be Mike Riley's first season. Andy Janovich, with 3 minutes-ish left, broke a run from fullback. I think it was like 55 yards for a touchdown. I don't know how it ended, but Wisconsin won the game on a final drive. They either scored a touchdown or kicked a field goal to win. It was painful. Nebraska's had a couple other close calls. 2016, they went to Wisconsin. Tommy Armstrong was the quarterback. They were in overtime, I believe, down 7, and they ended up failing to convert. Wisconsin won that game by 6, I think. Followed that game up with a trip to Ohio State and got blown out. Nebraska's gotten close, but they have not completed the task yet. It would be really special if they could do it this weekend, especially when we're down bad. And they're not much better, but it doesn't matter. If you can break the curse, break the pattern, let's just get some new energy. Let's get a Nebraska win for once. Then maybe guys in the future will feel like they can do it again, right? Would love to see him win one of these games over the next 2 weeks. And I'm sure Mickey Joseph is going to have something else to inspire him on Iowa week. But both really tough games. So we'll see. Whoever takes this job, they've got to be ready to work. Joseph said of needing to bust your tail recruiting to a question of a permanent head coach has to do, whether it's him or someone else. So basically, he's talking about toughness. So Mickey in the last, I don't know, what's it been, the last 2 weeks, he's been talking a little bit more about this coaching job, and he hasn't said, well, no, I think he did come out today and say that he hasn't been interviewed for it. So he hasn't straight up said, oh, I'm not going to get it or whatever. He's just kind of said, I'm going with the flow and whatever happens, happens. But he has basically said for the next coach, we need to make sure this guy's tough. We need to make sure that they're bringing something to the table that I'm listing. And he said, here's what we've learned this year. The offensive line needs to be better. The defensive line needs to be better. We need to improve our depth, all the things I talked about in the last 15 minutes. All of those things are going to be not easy for another head coach to come in and do, but it's something we haven't seen as a primary focus, at least by this last administration, by this last Scott Frost staff, more specifically. As long as we have a little bit more emphasis on that, and if Mickey is a part of that in any way, we're going to see incremental improvement. We're going to see 5 wins next year, 7 wins next year. We're then going to see 8 or 9 the next season after that, and it'll slowly build back up. Because those things, just doing the basics to win in the Big Ten, is enough to get to 7 to 9 wins a year if you can recruit good talent like you can at Nebraska. So keep it in mind. Let me see, did I get through all the tweets that we were going to talk about today? Oh, Miles Farmer's back and practicing with the team today after a suspension last week. So that's fantastic. So guys, I was going to mention this because people were asking me about Miles Farmer. I saw some negative comments about Miles, which I thought was pretty freaking shocking. People were being dicks. So Miles got a DUI. Miles is 21, I think. Miles got a DUI like last week. He missed a game. And, I mean, even the comment here, this is ridiculous. What are we talking about? Crafting Woods bench says he shouldn't be a part of the team anymore. Alcoholic loser. What? Okay. I understand the Henry Ruggs situation was an extreme situation, and, you know, I still feel for the guy. I feel bad for him, even though I know he killed somebody, whatever, did all this shit wrong, right? Miles Farmer was nowhere near in that situation. Obviously, he made a bad decision, but we need to make sure that in society, not even about Nebraska football, not even about Miles, in society, we take people who've made mistakes and we build them back up. We make sure that they're better for the future. We don't exile people and say, okay, you made a mistake, you're gone. Because guess what? We all made mistakes. So for all of those who are asking my opinion on this situation, get these guys back on the team ASAP. Get them around highly positive people, people who are focused, people who are trying to be winners in life, and make sure you build them up. Make sure you make them better guys. Miles Farmer needs guys like Mickey Joseph in his life. He needs guys like Garrett Nelson because he's got to make sure he stays the course. He has a super bright future ahead. That guy's an extremely hard worker, and that's why he's playing football at the highest level you could play, right? We got to make sure we protect guys like this, and we make sure that we rebuild them and, you know, take them under and don't let them become just another statistic or just fall back into the freaking abyss of society and become a loser. That makes no sense, especially when they're our own, especially when they're at Nebraska. I could promise you, I haven't had a DUI, but I made plenty of mistakes in my life. And if people just shun me and push me out to the side, I wouldn't be here doing this or doing anything productive, right? So keep that in mind. That's just my thought. Let me see. Are there any other tweets I missed on? No, I think we got all the tweets. All the, what was that? The press conference news from the day. Tom says, is Grant staying for another season? You know, that's a really interesting one. It would benefit him a ton because if we do have any sort of an offensive line next year, he would greatly be impacted because he would automatically cross 1,000. What's he at now? I think I read the stat 880, maybe 880. He's at 880 yards, let's say. He's 120 away from hitting 1,000. If you ask me, I think he hits it. He only needs 60 yards a game. Call it 60 and a half yards a game. So we'll call it 61. I think he runs for 60 yards this week, and I think he could run for 60 against Iowa. It's going to be tight. It's going to be tough. But, man, if he got to 1,000, he would be the first 1,000-yard rusher since 2018 with Divine Ozigbo. And if he was the running back that year, when Nebraska did have a decent offensive line, who was on that offensive line? Brendan Hymas, I believe, was on that offensive line, right? He would have been younger on that offensive line, though. I don't even remember. Doesn't matter. The point is this. If you gave him a good offensive line, Anthony Grant is a 1,300 yards back? Something like that. He's good. If he came back, it'd be fantastic. So we'll have to see. Jose said he had a DUI accident and ruined his life. And Farmer is lucky that no one died or is injured. And that is very true. He is lucky that nothing worse happened. And I'm sorry that your situation messed up your life, Jose, but it's okay because you're here and I see you every week in the chat. So you're still alive, and that's all that matters. You're still trying to make better on your situation. Bill, thank you for being a member. Thank you for being a $20 super chat, or sending the $20 super chat. And hello to you as well. Fluffy Midget says, is there any truth to the idea that players from SoCal can't play in cold weather? No, that's absurd because players from all over the country can play in cold weather. I think okay, so a lot of people make these absurd statements, right? I'm not sure if you guys watch Colin Cowherd. So Colin Cowherd's a Fox, I think he's Fox News. He's got a podcast, he's a radio show host. He has a good show, big show. You guys know who Colin Cowherd is. He made some comments when the announcement was made for UCLA and USC to switch over to the Big Ten. And there were all these people saying, oh, I can't wait for USC to have to travel to Michigan and play in the cold. It's like, really? These guys, really? One game in the cold? Sure, maybe their game plan isn't to run the ball downhill 50 times, but they can make it work. And what are the chances it's going to snow on that day, right? If it's snowy, I guess their percentage chance goes down a little bit. But most of these teams are practicing indoors anyway, and USC can adjust, right? All of the teams in the country typically practice in their climate, but they've all got players who are mentally tough. And if you're a winning team, you're going to be able to go and play anywhere. Just look at the NFL. The NFL has the Miami Dolphins. They have to go up and play in New York or wherever they got to play. The Jets, they got to go and play. Dolphins got to play the Jets. They got to play the Steelers. Those are all cold climates, right? The Browns. So, yeah, I don't put too much stock into that, especially when we're talking about individual players. A few individual players I mentioned earlier, C.J. Stroud, Chris Olave, both Ohio State superstars, Ohio State legends from where I live, from down in Southern California. I mean, you think they can't play in cold weather? To be fair, they got rocked by Michigan last year, so don't let me say too much. But that's the point. No, I'm not too worried about that. Travis says, do you think Ramir Johnson stays or does he hit the portal? That's a good question. I would assume, I would assume he hits the portal because he just hasn't been given the chance. And maybe he didn't earn it. Maybe he's just not as talented as some of these other backs. Make an assumption, I would say probably portal. Yeah, it is what it is. Brett, what don't they ever mention for Penn State, Michigan, or Wisconsin? The cold weather thing? Oh, and Ardwin says the Cali teams play Oregon, Washington. Yeah, those are really cold weather places. I went to a Washington game a couple of years ago, I think right before COVID. It was Washington Stanford. It was in November. It was probably like 30 degrees out. It was snowing a little bit. I mean, it was freaking cold. So, yeah, it gets cold everywhere. Tyler says Nebraska had Mo Purify from California. So, I don't know how old the chat is right now or how long you guys have been following Nebraska. But there was a receiver back in 2006, I think 2006, 2007, named Maurice Purify. I didn't even know he was from Nebraska. This was one of my favorite. I have a few favorite players. This was one of them. Wait. Maurice Purify. I don't know. You guys probably remember this guy. This is what he was known for. This catch against Texas A&M. This is a drawing of it. But yeah, a touchdown catch against Texas A&M that was unbelievable. And it was with Zach Taylor at quarterback. I think it was Zach Taylor. Yeah, it would have been Zach Taylor at quarterback. It was crazy. Touchdown winning night game at Texas A&M, and Mo Purify came up with it. I have this picture right here in the all-white fit, which these are the most classic, the cleanest Nebraska uniform there is. I love the all-whites. They're so freaking fire. I do like the all-white with the red pants as well, but this is just something special. Anyway, not to get too far off topic, I've got this picture at my mom's house in my bedroom, signed by Maurice Purify. My grandpa bought that for me when I was probably 2007. I would have been in like 7th grade, 8th grade, whatever. But yeah, Maurice Purify, stud. Didn't even know he's from California. Another one of my favorite players all time, Chris Kelsey. Just so you guys know who my favorite players were. So Chris Kelsey played for the Buffalo Bills. Let me find a Nebraska picture of him. Here he is at Nebraska. He wore number 57, so he's the reason I wore number 57 when I was growing up. He's the man. Another one was Josh Bullocks. Man, I don't even know if you guys remember these guys. Josh Bullocks and Daniel Bullocks. He had a brother. Who's this? Oh, it's Fabian Washington. He played on the same team with Fabian Washington. Who's another one of my favorite players? I don't even know off top, guys. I don't even know off top. I got a lot of things going on in my brain, and I see chat going crazy. So I know you guys are gonna tell me your favorite players too. Oh, I didn't even know. That's pretty interesting. Bonesaw says that Zach Taylor is obviously the Bengals head coach, and that Maurice Purify played for the Bengals. That's pretty interesting. Matthew said he fumbled the ball against Texas in the 2006 game to lose that one. Was that the game when Jamal Charles went crazy? I would have been like 13. I think Jamal Charles ran for 200 plus yards, something like that. You guys have to let me know. I don't remember. Marlon Lucky was from North Hollywood High School. He was a 5-star recruit. Nebraska's most recent 5-star recruit, I think, and their last 5-star recruit. Maybe there was one more 5-star recruit in there who just didn't pan out, but I think it was Marlon Lucky was like the last one. Marlon Lucky was a stud. Matthew, you said 2007 was the big Jamal Charles game. Copy. Okay. Kyler says, thoughts on Zach Taylor being at the Husker Michigan game. So I saw this. I didn't even know until after the game, which I thought was interesting. Zach Taylor, Michigan. Let's see here. Let me see if I can find a picture of it. Nebraska. There's no picture of it that I can see on like Google Images, but basically, Zach Taylor, the Bengals head coach, was at the Michigan game on Saturday wearing a Nebraska hoodie, which I was like, damn, that's pretty tight. And they said he was scouting. I didn't even know I didn't know that head coaches scout at college games, but that was pretty cool. So, I don't think he's going to be Nebraska's next head coach. He's got a good thing going in Cincinnati. Why would you leave, right? He's got like the perfect setup. He's got a young quarterback. He's got one of the top receivers in the NFL in Jamar Chase. What is he, top 10? I mean, I don't know where he fits right now currently, but he's a really good receiver, another up-and-coming guy. You don't leave when you've got something like that working, especially when you're coming off of a Super Bowl, unless you're fired. So, yeah, I don't think there's any chance he would come to Nebraska as the head coach. If he was Nebraska's head coach, I think that'd be fantastic. Like, I think that'd be a really good guy to give a chance. A lot of people are so, I don't know, against saying, oh, well, we don't need another Nebraska tie guy. We need an outsider, and we need someone who can come in and win. And I get that. I understand, and I'm not forcing you to take a Nebraska guy, let's say, right? But if you had Zach Taylor, who made it to a Super Bowl, has been a part of a really good coaching staff, and has some really good coaches on his team. He's been a part of multiple good coaching staffs. But if you had a chance to get him, why not take a shot? I mean, maybe not right now. Right now we want a proven college coach, I think, but he would be interesting. Throw the Bones X says Vince Ferragamo was from California. So Vince Ferragamo was a high school like trainer for me. So me, my high school quarterback, and one of the other receivers, and then a few DBs had one-on-one coaching with Vince. I think it was like $75 a session. My parents obviously paid for it, so I don't really remember. But yeah, I didn't even realize Vince Ferragamo went to Nebraska at that point until I wore a Nebraska hat to one of the sessions. And he's like, dude, do you know who I am? And I like made a joke about it. And I was like, I'm confused. I don't understand. And then I realized Vince Ferragamo played at Nebraska. So that was pretty funny. But yeah. Matthew says he works at the Dubliner in Omaha Old Market. He's a bouncer there on the weekends. Interesting. I gotta find a place to go, guys, in Omaha. When I come this weekend, I gotta do some meetups. I gotta meet people in Omaha. I gotta meet people outside the game. If you see me in the stadium, if you see me anywhere, make sure you say hi. I told you guys stories before when I went to Lincoln that first time. There were some shy people. I was pretty surprised. I'm not a celebrity. I'm not an influencer. I'm just one of you. I'm one of your boys. So if you see me walking, just walk up, say what's up. I know there's some nervous like moments, and it confuses me because I'll look at you and you'll look at me, and like you'll start to walk towards me, and then you back off, and I'm like, wait, does he want to say what's up or no? It's like very weird for me. So don't make things awkward. Just walk up and say what's up. Don't be weird. Just be normal. Tater, it was an impromptu live. And guys, again, if you're just joining the party, I just wanted to go live because I won't be going live this week. I'm going to do a video tomorrow where I preview the Wisconsin game. And then after that, I leave on Thursday for Omaha. So because of that, I'm not going to go live this weekend, unfortunately. And I love our weekend live streams, but I got to go to this one, so it is what it is. Fluffy says, I want a proven coach like Lane Kiffin right now. You know, I was thinking about this the other day. There's a coach out there, not a coach we can get, but a coach who made me change my mind on this the other day. He coaches in the Big 12. His name's Sonny Dykes. So he's had an up and down career. Let's check his career record. So he was at Louisiana Tech. He went 22-15, had a 9-win season. Then he was at Cal. His best season was 8 wins. He only made a bowl game 1 in 4 years. Crazy. Then he was at SMU. Went 30-18, had a 10-win, an 8-win, but nothing that would make you say, this guy is a champion, right? He gets over to TCU. TCU, the same TCU who, I don't know what their record was last year. Let's check real quick. The same TCU who went 5-7 last year with a legendary coach in Gary Patterson. And this guy turned them into a force. And I mean, there are some fraudulent-ass teams out there, all right? There are some teams every year who show up to the party. They're undefeated. You think, oh, man, they're good, blah, blah, blah. And then someone good comes in and the hammer hits. And then you realize, oh, they weren't as good as we thought. They proceed to lose 4 games. You know who's similar? Nebraska 2016. Nebraska 2016. They started off, I believe, 6-0. 7-0, maybe. Anyway, a lot of the outside people were like, oh, is Nebraska good? Us Nebraska fans, we knew this movie, it's going to hit the same way it's hit before, and then we're going to lose all the games in November. And that's just what happened. TCU has fought through. They should have lost last week. 7.5-point dogs at Texas. And what'd they do? They played defense for the first time all year. They held Quinn Ewers, who's one of the quarterback prodigies. They held him to, 1 touchdown? I don't even know if the offense scored a touchdown. They kicked a field goal. Defense scored a touchdown on a scoop and score, I think it was. Point is, their defense showed up on the road. That's the number, I believe, 4 team in the country right now on a serious run to make the playoff. And they're in position to do it. I think they're a 2-point or 3-point favorite over Baylor this week on the road, and Baylor could very well spoil the party. But the point is, who would have said, if we're Nebraska fans and we hired Sonny Dykes last year, who would have said, fantastic hire, we got 8-win Sonny Dykes coming to town, let's freaking go? Would you have said it? Because I wouldn't have. But now, understanding anything can happen if you build the right staff out, if you're at the right place, if you build the right culture, I'm not so concerned with the proven winner as much as I was before. Obviously, I'd veer to the right and say, let's focus on getting a proven guy, because why take the risk? But let's say Matt Rule comes in, and Matt Rule, he has his downsides, but he has a lot of positive as well. Let's say you get him. Am I going to be heartbroken? No. He seems like a cultural fit. Seems like a guy Trev Alberts would like. Seems like a Nebraska type of coach. Tough. Focuses on the line of scrimmage, has a run-pass RPO offense, run-pass option. Not too concerned now. It's my mindset's shifting. So just keep that in mind. Every year we're learning new things, because college football isn't the college football of old. College football is this new beast. And teams like Alabama and Clemson, who we thought we'd have to, fix the system to get to be mediocre again, or not mediocre, the wrong word. Get to be normal again, not as dominant, be a regular team who is penetrable and can lose 2 games in the season. We're seeing that with this portal and with NIL and everything else going on, that it's possible. So just keep that in mind. Don't get too worked up. I promise you, no matter who Nebraska's next head coach is, I really do believe Trev Alberts has put a lot of thought and work into this to make sure he makes the right decision. So obviously anything can happen, but I do believe in his judgment. Jacob, thank you for the $5 super chat. Go to Shucks in Omaha and get the shrimp and grits. You won't forget it. Interesting. All right, I'm going to take a picture right now. I might have to stop in at Shucks in Omaha so I don't forget. Bang. Saved my phone. We'll see. Thank you for the $5. Oh, shit. The Crypto Badger's back. He dropped in 100. Thank you for the $100 to the Badger. Damn. If you guys didn't notice, he changed his name on our YouTube to TAKL Farms. Wants to make sure he gets his branding right. He's got a big farm in South Dakota. Loved hearing Nelson saying that he wasn't walking. I don't care what anybody says. The train is switching tracks. Yo, you're getting me pumped up, Badger. You're right. Because when you get a coach like Mickey Joseph, who now brings in this shift and this new energy and this new belief, even though there's no reason to believe because everything has been a complete mess. And players are starting to buy into that when we're not even fully on track with the rebuild. We're not even on rebuild. We're still in disaster prevention. We're still in, let's not get blown out by Wisconsin. Let's not get blown out by Iowa. And he's still saying, you know what? It's disaster prevention. I'm not even amped up and living on the fumes of new head coach and new culture and on track for next season and start my workout training and let's rebuild the offensive line. He's not worried about any of that. And he's saying, I'm not walking because I'm not leaving. Statement. When it's one of your biggest leaders, when it's one of the guys with the highest ceilings, when it's the guy you want to be all the way bought in, the guy you need to be a cornerstone piece, a pillar for this next head coach. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm just pumped thinking about it. When you have leaders like that who believe and buy in before they're even given a reason to believe or buy in, it says something to the culture that's being laid down in Lincoln right now. The culture's being laid before we even know what the future's looking like, and that is a testament to King Mickey Joseph. That guy is on fire. Whew, man, gets me excited. Gets me excited. Badger, glad to have you here. Thanks for the $100. We appreciate you. Let's see here. I'm going to answer some chats real quick. So Tyler says, what bars do you frequent in Lincoln? I don't frequent any bars in Lincoln because I never go to Lincoln. I've been to Lincoln twice since 2019. I went once when I went to the Oklahoma game, and then I went to the Ohio State game, but I rarely go. So I don't frequent any. I'll go wherever, though. So that's something that's been talked about. People want to know where. Jamie says, where are you staying in Omaha? I don't know. My sister got an Airbnb. So we have an Airbnb with like 5 bedrooms. I'm going out with my mom, my sister, and then a couple of my friends. So we'll be at an Airbnb in Omaha, which will be cool. And I've been talking about it. I think I'm going to go out Thursday night. I'll put a poll up on YouTube. Maybe have a open discussion, and you guys can tell me where I should go Thursday night. And I'll have like a mini meetup, like 5, 10 of you. I don't know, however many of you want to come. We could hang out on Thursday because people ask me all the time, when can we get a drink or whatever? And I'm super far away, guys. I'm in Hollywood. I mean, if you want to come out to LA, there's a billion bars right down the street from me, and I'll go out to any of them. I have met. There's a girl named Sydney. Sydney is from Beverly Hills. She went to high school at Beverly Hills with like a few guys I'm friends with, and she ended up hitting me up on Instagram and said she watches the channel. So we went and watched the Purdue game last year at a bar down the street from my house. So I have met up with subscribers before to watch games and stuff. So anyway, Nelson and Palmer both staying, says we have a good start with next year. Palmer we don't know about. Mickey said he doesn't think he's going to walk, but he very well could because we didn't hear it from his own mouth. You got to remember, it's super important you don't make assumptions based on what somebody else says, right? So Mickey saying it might be what he heard 2 weeks ago, and then he's just reiterating it now. So let's wait on Palmer and see how that goes. But Nelson, yeah, huge. Really happy that we're having him back. C402 Red says, do you think DeColdis will hit the portal? Honestly, I don't think many of the receivers hit the portal if Mickey's going to be here. There are guys who are going to have to leave who just aren't going to be able to play. IGC, for example, didn't feel like he got a fair shake. He hit the portal. So there's going to be some guys who do. But the guys who are closest to Mickey, and to me, that's the guys from the South or that he recruited personally. Bonner, for example, from Georgia, I believe. Obviously, Palmer, the coldest. I think Alante has a strong relationship with him. Any of the guys who have a really strong relationship with Mickey, they're not leaving, especially if Mickey's going to be here. If Mickey's not here, all bets are off. Who knows what's going to happen? But with Mickey here, I feel good about most of these guys staying. And yeah, Jesse, that was basically my point I just made. So you called it before I even did. Tyler says it seems more and more like Matt Rule will be headed here. Everything's just a rumor at this point, and that's what I don't want people to get too caught up on. Literally anything can happen. I would say there's a lot of stock put into this Matt Rule hire at this point because there's been a lot of rumors, and when there's smoke, there's usually fire. But there's not been one credible rumor. Not one. If you can send me one credible rumor, I'd love to hear it. The Deion Sanders rumor the other day is a credible rumor, okay? And I'll tell you why. The coach who reported it is not a liar for clickbait. He has a history of not being a liar for clickbait. He has a history of calling out the media for being thirsty for clicks and all that, okay? He's like me. He does not do that. I don't break news. I don't claim to be a news reporter, and neither is the guy who broke that rumor. What he said, and he doubled down on it today, a coordinator from an HBCU in the same conference as Deion Sanders was called by Deion and said, hey, if I take the Nebraska job, would you be my coordinator? And that guy said yes. So he told Zach, yes, I would do it. Zach's not saying anything's going to happen. He's not saying that Deion said, I already signed my deal. He's not saying, I mean, he might have said I verbally agreed to it. Who knows what the details were, because that's not what I'm worried about right now. The point is, there are rumors that have legitimacy behind them. And then there are nameless, faceless accounts on Twitter. There are dozens of them, and beware of Twitter because Husker Twitter is extremely toxic. It's extremely bullshit. You will see plenty of stuff on there that doesn't make sense, doesn't deserve retweets or likes or any conversation, and people will listen to it and watch it just because they're hoping something's true. None of it is. So until someone gives me a real rumor, I can't even respond to it or put much thought into it. And this is obviously a tangent because we were talking about Matt Rule being headed here. I still think the odds are in Matt Rule's favor just because he fits what Trav Alberts wants, okay? That's just my thought. So does Mark Stoops. Mark Stoops fits it as well. But the point is, yeah, these rumors are out of control. So don't get too much into them. We got another super chat from the Badger. Thank you for the $50 chat, Badger. What are you thinking for pheasant hunting on Sunday? All good in the hood if you can't make it, but you're welcome. I want to go, but I can't come during football season because I got to make content while I can. So I'm going to text you and I'm going to get something set up because I'm going to come up to the farm, I promise you. But I'm going to text you and figure out what the schedule. It's just right now while we're in football season, I got to make sure I can focus on making content because we only have so many months of football. I only got like 5 good months where I can make the content. Okay, thank you for the $20 super chat. Send me Sanders and I'm at every game just cuz. I think there's a lot of people who are going to feel that way. So I got mixed reviews. I made 2 videos. I made one video on my channel where I talked about Deion Sanders and the rumor and the pros and cons to Deion Sanders. And that video to many felt like I was selling them on Deion Sanders. And just to be honest, I might have been a little bit because I might be biased and I might want Deion Sanders a little bit more than I want some of these other coaches, all right? Okay. Deion Sanders being in Nebraska would be an energy injection for the youth. It would be a wave of positivity for these players. And he's a leader in so many ways, right? Not just football, but being a better man. He wants to make sure his players go out and succeed in the world at whatever they do. And we see that in the way he speaks on camera because he has had a ton of cameras that have followed him for whatever reason. I'm not sure if Jackson State's media team just follows him and gets these great speeches or what the deal is. But I was talking to my cousin the other day. I told you guys about my cousin. He's an on-field photographer. He works at Rivals. He takes some great pictures. He took some really good pictures at the Michigan game last week. But I was talking to him about Deion. And we basically came to the conclusion that players follow a coach's energy. All right? So if Deion comes in super inspired, winning mentality, got a little bit of swag, believes in himself, what's going to happen with the players? You had Scott Frost, and he was super focused, locked in, didn't talk much, was quiet, didn't really give that hyped up energy. I don't know about you, But for me, when I'm doing a job or a gig or whatever I'm doing, or if I'm even going out with my friends and we're gonna BS with girls or whatever the situation is, I like to inject the room with some energy. I like to be fired up. I like to be the way I am on these live streams, right? So maybe, just maybe, Deion Sanders coming in. Oh, here's another point. We talk about the black head coach thing. Some people have said something about, what was the video? I don't remember what it was. There's some video talking about whether a black head coach matters in Nebraska or something. I think it does. When you have a majority of your players as black, if they have a coach who's black, who understands them, think of Mickey Joseph, who understands them better and understands their culture and where they're from, that can only help. If you get a stiffer white guy, you got a mixed bag. They don't relate to their players as well. Who knows, right? But that's just a thought in the back of my head. I don't think it really matters that much, but who knows? I also think for Nebraska's sake, people have all these BS things they say about Nebraska being racist or whatever. I don't care about any of that because I don't live in Nebraska or know anything about it, so I don't give an opinion on it. What I do know is, just for Nebraska being a place where it's middle of the country, it doesn't seem like a forward-thinking place, if you get a guy from the South like Deion, who's a former NFL player, who wears chains, who has the attitudes a little bit more edgy, isn't, a stick figure guy. Like, Deion reminds me a little bit of PJ Fleck. I know some people don't like PJ Fleck, but the point is this. If you bring in somebody like that, I think it could be good for this program, good for this state. Give us something different, because what we had before with Mike Riley, with Scott Frost, even with Bo Pelini, it didn't work. Give me something different. That's just a thought. I don't know. Dakota, thank you for the $5 super chat. Deion Sanders follows Nebraska football, Marquise Buford, and Will Compton. Yeah, he just started following Nebraska, is my understanding. He already followed Marquise because Marquise played high school football on his team at Trinity in, what city is it? I don't even know what city. DeSoto, Texas? Yeah, so he already has a relationship with Marquise. Will Compton, media personality. He obviously follows Will. I don't know if that's new or not. The Nebraska football one in the Huskers page, that one feels like a little bit of a troll to me, because there's obviously been a lot of smoke and a lot of things going on with his name tied to Nebraska. So I'm not sure that those things would happen, and I think because he's laughing about it, he's just following Nebraska to fuel the fire. Deion's a smart dude, okay? I promise you. He's a genius marketer, okay? I talked about in my video about Deion, about how he's successful and a winner at every single thing he does in life, and how there aren't many people who get it, or many people who are like that, okay? No matter what Deion does, he's going to be a winner, all right? In social media, he's figured out how to conquer. I can get into a whole... So you guys follow the QB Plug. QB Plug's big on Instagram, big on TikTok. He's a big recruiting guy. It's really good content, 1 million plus followers, whatever. I talked to him on the phone for about an hour and a half about Lane Kiffin and Deion Sanders and how those guys are paving the way for the future of college football. Deion understands trolling. He understands social media, how to get attention, and how to leverage all of that for his own benefit. And he understands it like other coaches don't, right? There's a lot of value in being able to be talked about, right? In getting people to say your name constantly and getting people to promote you. And I can get down this rabbit hole when we talk about branding and marketing, and I'm not going to get down that because it's probably boring to most of you. But the point is, the guy's extremely smart, and the reason he followed Nebraska and Nebraska football, in my opinion, is because he knows what it's going to do for his brand and how much it's going to elevate him when he does it. And it's such a simple thing. It costs him zero, but the attention it brought to him and the dollars it will bring him in the future will amount to something great. So, just a thought. Just a thought. There's another super chat. Don't let me miss it. Throw the bones. Thank you for the $20. Love me some Deion Sanders. Also, I'm a Braves fan. I like that. So the Braves, I think, were in the World Series a couple years ago, right? Or they were in playoffs. I don't know. I don't follow baseball that close, but yeah. At least you got a team that wins, because Nebraska doesn't. So I'm glad that you got a team that you can root for who's done some good for you, because I only root for Nebraska. I don't really have an NFL team. I don't have a baseball team, a hockey team, basketball team. I have a basketball team when my friend plays, but he's a free agent right now. So last year he was on the Pelicans, so I was a big Pelicans fan last year. This year he's still waiting to get picked up. So yeah, I don't have a team to root for. So this year's been extra painful because my only team's a loser. So good on you for having a backup because I don't have one. Chris says, deep question. Okay, I haven't read this yet. This could be crazy. If you could change the outcome of one moment in the last 10 years of Nebraska football, oh God, here we go. What moment would you change in hopes to create a different trajectory for Nebraska football? I think there's two ways we could go with this. Turn down my light. I'm a little ghosty. All right, that's better. If we're talking about a single moment, man, the problem is the coaching is so important. So between 2012 and now, it's got to be the Mike Riley hire. We were at a position where we needed to get a coach in who could play defense and who could play Big Ten football back in 2014. We had been in the Big Ten for 2, maybe 3 seasons, and Bo Pelini just wasn't able to make his D work. That was a national championship defensive coordinator only 7 years before that. Keep that in mind. Nebraska was run out of the stadium by Wisconsin twice, 2012 and 2014. I was at that second game. Snowy, cold. Melvin Gordon went for 400 yards rushing. The very next week, Samaje Perine broke that over at Kansas. Or no, he was on Oklahoma playing against Kansas. Point is, that moment was a time, or that time was when Nebraska needed a serious change, a mentality shift. They needed to get on track with someone who understood the Big Ten, get on track with someone who could bring back the black shirts. They chose Mike Riley. Mike Riley. And at the time, I'm trying to think back to what I was doing and where I was. I would have been about 20 years old, 21. I was with my girlfriend in a bar in Newport. Nebraska flashes across the screen. This is the day after Thanksgiving, or 2 days after Thanksgiving, because it's after the Iowa game. I think it was that. Whatever. It's around that time frame. Flashes across the screen in this bar. Breaking news. Nebraska hires Mike Riley. I was very familiar with Mike Riley. I had grown up going to USC games, grown up following, obviously, all the Pac-12 games. Steven Jackson was one of my favorite players. So I understood Oregon State football. They weren't some powerhouse. They weren't ever a team you looked at and said, that's a really good football team. That was a doormat. And Nebraska went and said, you know what? Crucial time in Nebraska program history. Let's go make a splash and hire Mike Riley. That's the moment, because the trajectory went from, the Bill Callahan. I was really young, okay? So I'm remembering as best I can. I have a picture with Bill Callahan. I'm like 10 years old, all right? I was young at this point. Bill Callahan tanked us a little bit. And after that, 5 wins was unheard of at Nebraska back at that time. You have to keep in mind. Let me just show you, for you young fans, Nebraska record history. Let me show you how significant that Bill Callahan hire was. Nebraska football record history. I know this is like a long story I'm getting into, and it might be boring, but just bear with me. Okay. So, down here, 2004. Nebraska ends up with 5 wins. All right. Look before that. This is like a 21 year gap, 20 year gap, whatever it is. Nebraska never had less than 9. All right. Or they had 7 in 2002. Okay. Go back here. Nebraska never had less than 9 until 1968. Okay. Then you get to 7 in 2002, and that was, I think, Frank Solich last year. No, Frank Solich had a year after that. Okay. Frank Solich gets to 10-3. Then Nebraska fires him, which it's a conversation for another day. Chill the fuck out, chat. I know you've got something to say right now, but let's stay on track. Okay. Bill Callahan comes in. He wins 5, 8, 9, 5. This is a new territory for Nebraska. I mean, completely new. We haven't been a 5-win football team since my parents were in elementary school. What's going on? Okay, you go and get Bo, and Bo keeps us, alive. We're not fantastic like we were before, but we're alive. And then this happens, and this is the pivotal point. This Mike Riley hire is what tanked the trajectory. Bill Callahan had us going like this. Bo got us back on track, and Bo never got us to peak. Bo got us to 10, but Bo never got us, a Big Ten championship, never got us a Rose Bowl or anything that Nebraska fans were used to, at least from the, 70s, 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. That hire ruined everything. It ruined everything. Just look. It hurts my freaking heart. 8, 9, 5. Oh, God. Okay, we got to make a big one. 9, 10, 10, 9, 10, 9, 9. Fantastic. Get rid of him. Oh, shit. Okay, well, we better have somebody big in the chamber. What is that? Anyway, I don't want to get too hung up on it. It's just, yeah. It's tough, man. It's tough. Hope that answered your question. The Mike Riley hire was really hurt, really painful. Mike says if Deion comes, does his boy follow? I would assume a lot of his players would want to play at a higher level. And I would assume your own kid is going to follow you, especially to a Power 5 school. He's got 2 sons, Shadar and one more. So I think there'd be a really good chance that his son comes. And it would be, if you're bringing in a player to that caliber, he's been fantastic in the FCS, right? If you're bringing him in and he's got to adjust to the speed of Nebraska football and Big Ten football, it might be a little bit of a learning curve. But regardless, the energy and getting a guy like that who's played on a winning team for these last 3 years, just like we got with Trey Palmer and any of these players who came in the transfer portal who've been a little bit more used to winning than some of the Nebraska guys, I think it does wonders. So that would be fantastic. But we'll have to see. And Crypto Badger agrees. Crypto Badger says that's a hands down. And I think that would be fantastic. So just a thought. Badger has another super chat. Oh, Badger hit me with the 200. You're the man, brother. I appreciate you a ton. You mean a ton to my show, a ton to our show. You're like my executive producer. So everybody, you guys got to realize every super chat that comes in, every dollar that comes into the channel makes it so I can create more of this content. I do not work during the football season. This is my work. I do as much research as I can. I watch as many games as I can, and I make sure that I'm putting out the best and most impactful content you can find on YouTube for Nebraska football. It takes a lot of work and a lot of hours. So every time I get any support from any of you, $1 to $100, it means a ton. So Badger, I've told you that 100 times before, but yeah, it means a lot to me. So thank you a ton. He says, Deion, it's simple to me. The juice he will bring and the motivation, game over. Recruits will come, the molding of recruits. You can look at our team just this year and see coaches mean everything. That's a freaking fact. We went from giving up 600 yards a game to under 300 in 1 week. Deion Sanders, please. It is crazy when you think about it. We had this staff in place for so long, and in just 1 week, from the OU game to getting rid of Eric Shenander, Nebraska ends up with a significantly better defense. And don't take OU as an example because you can say they're a better offense than Indiana was or Rutgers, but just look at Georgia Southern. What Crypto Badger's talking about is the Georgia Southern day. Georgia Southern put up over 600 yards and 45 points and beat us on our home field, with a coach in Clay Helton who honestly isn't an elite coach. He's good, not great. In 1 week, Bill Bush gets switched over to the defense, and he corrects everything like that. Mickey Joseph, culture changes like that. You bring in one guy who understands what it takes to win and can mold the players, recruit the right guys, get them to buy in, and just do the bare minimum to make sure guys are lined up right, don't make too many stupid penalties, want to win, are focused on being the best versions of themselves. And now what do you get? Well, you get a team who wins consistently. You get a team like Jackson State who comes from the gutter. of the FCS, not a winning football team. Let me show you. I'm gonna sell Dion for you, Badger. I'm gonna make sure people understand why it's important and why he's important. Deion Sanders. Look. Wait, let me take a note here, just so I don't forget later. Bang. Okay. Deion Sanders at Jackson State. Come on. Okay. 10 wins, 11 wins, 4 wins in the COVID year in his first season. This is a drastic improvement. He's 25-5, a drastic improvement from what they had before. Jackson State football record history. Jackson State Tigers. Bang, bang. I couldn't find the record history there, Dave, but I did find something here that made it easy for me to see. Okay, here it is. Their head coaches here. You had 2006 to 2013, their head coach had a 61% winning percentage. 2014 to 2015, Harold Jackson, a 35% winning percentage. 16 to 18, a 31% winning percentage. And right before Deion got there, for the 3 years before, a 40% win percentage. So if you go back from 2020 to 2014, which is Mike Riley to halfway through Scott Frost's era, they were winning 35% of their games. Deion comes in, and they're winning, I mean, at this rate, they're going to be winning 80+%. And people can say, oh, well, he's recruiting at a higher level, and he can get all these guys because he's Deion Sanders, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fair. But he doesn't have anywhere near the same coaching experience as some of these other guys do in the SWAC. So you got to keep in mind, Deion's working with what he's got, and he's going to do the same thing when he's at Nebraska. He's going to find the areas he lacks and make up for it in other ways. Like I said before, he's a winner. So no matter what it takes, he's going to find a way to win. People like that just win. Successful people are successful at everything they do, right? They make their bed in the morning. They're usually in shape and take care of themselves, and try to be at peak performance. They always make the most money. They invest their money the right way. They don't lose it all. Successful people just do things the right way, right? Deion's one of those guys. So, yeah, I have a lot of faith in him. Badger, I'm sold. So Badger's been on the Deion train for at least a month. At least, because he's been firing me videos over text of Deion interviews and things I need to watch about him. So I already know who his choice is. And he might be my choice too. I mean, in my video I made the other day, when I broke down and sold Deion to you, I don't know. You tell me. Do you think I wanted Deion Sanders? Felt like it a little bit when I went back and watched it. I was like, geez, I'm really a Deion homer at this point. Kyler, if Deion Sanders doesn't come, let's get Lance in here and keep Bush at defensive coordinator. Lance is a rebuilder, and as sad as this sounds, that's what we need. Here are my thoughts on Lance. Let me finish on a Deion point, okay? The fear with Deion is, who does he get as his coordinators? And does he get strong enough coordinators? That's something that would be really interesting to follow, because who knows? I mean, he has a ton of connections, and there are tons of coaches who would want to come and be on any staff at Nebraska and get a chance to win in the Big Ten. I mean, this is a very special place. Don't forget that. But it's just something interesting to think about. Right now, we're still in speculation mode, and we get to talk about all these coaches. And at this point, this is just fun for us. I mean, I'm sitting here at 7:45 on a Tuesday night BSing with you guys because this is more fun than me sitting on my couch watching basketball or whatever. So we can talk about these things, and it's just fun. And who knows if it's true or not, so don't think I'm telling you what's going to happen because I know nothing. None of us do. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who a coach like that would get as his coordinators. Now, we go back to your comment, Kyler. Thank you for the $5. If I didn't say it already, you mean a ton to our channel. If he doesn't come and Lance comes in, keep Bush at DC. I love Bush. I think he's a fantastic position coach. He's been serviceable as defensive coordinator. He doesn't have the defensive coordinator success or recent experience is a better way to say it. And because of that, I'd be more interested in spending money to go and get a guy who has a little bit more little bit more recency, right? A little bit more recent win rate. Understands how to win the Big Ten. Bill Busch, you know, he was the defensive coordinator at Rutgers at one point. They weren't too great. Let's go get a big name. You know, we got the money to spend. Let's do it the right way. When you're talking about Leipold, we're gonna need him to bring in a new defensive coordinator. His DC at Kansas, kind of whatever. He followed him from Buffalo. At Buffalo, they didn't have a great defense either. It feels like a shenander. And if Lance brought him to Nebraska, in the deep part of my heart, I would hold something against him a little bit. Just gonna be honest. Unless we saw some drastic change in the defense immediately, I'd feel some type of way about Leipold for not cutting ties. I think it's super important to understand and acknowledge your weakness and build from it, right? It's okay that we're friends, but you can't compete as high of a level as my offense can. And because you can't, and you've proved it now at Kansas and at Buffalo, I'm going to have to move on. So just a thought. I do think Busch needs to be safeties coach, special teams coordinator, something. Give him a position role. But defensive coordinator, I'd prefer someone with a little bit more success recently. Just a thought. I might be wrong. Okay. Badgers back. Thank you for the 20. Vince Watson, I disagree. Everybody thinks if you don't have Big Ten experience, you can't make it. Wrong. If he can bring the right coaches, it's game over. When you win, you win. And that's something I think is really important, right? I don't think it's as important to have Big Ten experience as it is to understand how to win in the Big Ten, okay? Unpopular opinion, and I've been skeptical of him as well, but I've done more research on him, and I do have more faith now. Matt Rule has no Big Ten experience, and I do believe that he would be a successful Big Ten coach. I'm not a massive fan, okay? I get it. The comments were going in yesterday on Matt Rule. People, I think it was like a 65% said no on Rule, as opposed to 35 who said they would like him. But you got to understand, this guy's a tough football coach. He's a Big Ten style football coach. He preaches all the things that we need at Nebraska. And you don't need Big Ten experience to have all those things. You don't need to be a Big Ten winner to say that you know how to win in the Big Ten because of the way you play football, the way your teams play football. It would be a fantastic addition to have someone who's proved it already, especially when we're in this position where we're taking a little bit of a risk and we want to mitigate that risk as much as possible. But you don't have to have Big Ten experience. You have to know how to win in the Big Ten, though. And I do believe a guy like Dion would know how to win in the Big Ten. And he would at least go and talk to a guy like Mickey. Mickey is preaching right now. Every press conference. Here's how we win. Here's what we've got to do. Here's what I would do going forward. If I'm not the guy, here's what the next guy has to do. Point is, the next coach is either going to talk to Mickey about it, hear about it, understand it. They're going to get fired those questions from reporters. I'll be on their freaking ass with advice videos for our next head coach to make sure their freaking kids are watching it and showing this next head coach, hey, this crazy guy on YouTube is saying this is what it takes to win in the Big Ten. Here are the 10 ways Scott Frost ruined the program, and you need to not do any of these things. I promise you, he's going to hear it. This guy can win. There's a lot of coaches who can win. It just has to be the right fit. Deion Sanders is the right fit. Matt Rule is the right fit. Lane Kiffin, I want to believe, would be the right fit. Although I don't think he's coming to Nebraska. I think he's a lock for Auburn. I think he would be the right fit. I think he would know what it takes to win. But it's still, his football's a little different. He didn't have as much to work with. He lost his defensive coordinator at Texas A&M. He got jammed up. Ole Miss is a trash can. Ole Miss won't give him the money he needs to succeed, and that's why he's leaving there. But the point is, yeah, you don't have to have Big Ten experience to win in the Big Ten. That's it. Hey, Shadow, for everybody who just jumped in or didn't know I was going live, I was planning on this being literally like a 100-person live stream last minute. I was bored in my room working on the Wisconsin video for tomorrow, but I realized that I'm not going live anytime this week because I fly out to Omaha for the game this weekend on Thursday morning. So because I'll be in Nebraska Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I wanted to come on live here and talk to some of you guys. It just ended up being a lot bigger of a live stream and a lot more engaging than I had planned for it to be. This is going to be more of a little BS thing, but you guys wanted content, so shit, I'm glad I could deliver. Trigger, thank you for the $2 super chat. You said you can't wait to meet me on Saturday. I hope you're following me on Instagram, Twitter, Discord, wherever. I'm going to post up. Sorry, guys, my nose itches a ton tonight. Ugh. I'm going to be over at outside the stadium after the game. I'll probably be walking around before the game. So make sure you're following me everywhere so I can post up and show you guys where I'm going to be, because I want to meet as many people as possible on this trip. I met a ton of people for OU week. That was awesome. I loved seeing you guys. But I want to meet even more for Wisconsin. We got 15,000 subscribers. If we got 15,000 subscribers and I'm going to be in Omaha and Lincoln, I better meet at least 100 people this trip. 100. At least. I probably met like 100 last trip. Maybe more. But the point is I want 100. So you better find me. Daniel says anybody can win. It's just a question if they do win. That goes back to what I was saying about Sonny Dykes before. Sonny Dykes has not won. But he could win, and now he is winning. TCU 10-0 with a coach. A coach from SMU? A coach from Cal who didn't win? Any coach can win if they have the right fundamentals, if they have the right vision for the team, if they understand what it takes to build the right culture, they can do it. And they got to have the right players. Keep in mind, if you don't have the right players, none of this works. Sonny Dykes made it work. The Badger, thank you for the $20 super chat. I'm going to talk Connor into Deion Sanders yet. LOL, you ever seen a junk team turn it around in 1 year from a coach? Just say yes. I think Matt won't work because he'll feel the pressure coming from the pros. Deion's making a point. Okay. When you say he's feeling the pressure from the pros, I think he failed as a pro coach, but he still remembers what it takes to build a strong college program. How much pressure do you feel if you've got $40 million in the bank? Not in the bank yet, but coming to the bank, whether you get fired or not. To me, I think Matt Rule feels pretty comfortable and pretty confident at whatever job he takes next, in college at least. In the NFL, I think he'd feel a little bit of pressure. But coming back to college, I don't know. I think he'd be pretty confident in his skill set and in what he brings to the table. The one thing I will say is about Rule, and we did talk about this in the Matt Rule video yesterday. The downside of Matt Rule, it takes him a long time to flip a program. And it typically means he has to tear the program down first to get it back to where he wants it to be. If you look at the records of the teams before he took over, they were always a lot better than when he took over. So Baylor finishes 7-6 with a bowl win. Year before that, they had 10 wins. Year before that, 11 wins. Year before that, 11 wins. Year before that, 10, whatever. They had all these good records. His first year, they have 1 win. People try to say, oh, players left, blah, blah, blah. No. He returned 7 on offense and 7 on defense. He had the same players as they had during the winning years. He had his culture already instilled. But for whatever reason, he tears a team back down to 0 and rebuilds them back up to be great. He's done it at both places. This wasn't a one-time thing. This wasn't a one-conference thing. He did it in the Group of 5. He did it with Temple in the American Conference. And he's done it at Baylor in the Big 12. So if we got a guy like Matt Rule, I would expect a rebuild that took some time. So just something to think about. Okay, I'm getting back to chat, guys. Have fun in Omaha and Lincoln this week. Yes, sir, I absolutely will. I'm excited to go. It's fun. I like going to the cold weather because it's really like, I don't know, 65 outside of my house. It's 57 right now, but like during the day, it's like 68 to 70. I want to wear like, you know, bundled up stuff and be freezing and have to wear a beanie. So that's why I'm excited for this week. Jose says, I don't know about Rule. He seemed kind of boring, and it's weird because I'm a Niner fan, and us whooping the Panthers got him fired, so that's kind of weird to take him as a Husker fan. It is weird being a Panthers fan or an NFL fan and watching him lose and then saying you're going to hire him now, but you've got to wipe that away. Wipe away the NFL stint, because that usually doesn't matter. Look at Mel Tucker. He was in the NFL. It didn't matter. You look at Nick Saban. He went to the NFL for a year. Didn't matter. There's another big name. Why am I blanking? Another big name went NFL. Urban Meyer. Doesn't matter. He's still going to succeed in college. Wipe away that experience. Go back to 2019 and look at what he did at Baylor. They were a fantastic team. If you could tell me in 2019 that we were getting Matt Rule as our next head coach, you'd probably, or tell me or you or I would probably be pretty excited about that. We'd say, wow, this guy, got a really good RPO offense, has a solid defense. I think they finished top 20 nationally in offense and top 25 in defense, somewhere around there. Don't quote me. But they finished somewhere in the top 25 for both categories 2019. He brings balance. And it's something we haven't had in a really long time. It's something I would greatly appreciate. So don't look at this as too weird of a hire because of the recent stint, okay? Just think about these other NFL coaches who failed, who came back to college and were successful. Maybe that's Matt Rule. The Badger, thank you for the 20. The pressure comes from taking over Nebraska and what it means to do it. Deion is full blast no matter what he does in life. Just look at how he teaches his kids. And I don't mean just in football. Dude, I am on board with you. You're 1,000% right. I just don't know how realistic it is. I am sold on the idea. I'm sold on making more videos about it. I'm sold on putting on a Deion Sanders to Nebraska shirt. Does he come? That's the biggest question at this point. But the guy's a proven winner at everything he does. And if you can get a guy who wins at all aspects in life, one of the issues with Scott Frost, we thought was a winner at everything. These rumors came out, sounded like he had some other issues in his life not sorted out. Those were not winning habits, if any of those are true. And I'm not saying they are or not. But if he didn't display or live up to the winning habits that I would expect for a top-tier college football coach like Nebraska needs, then it holds you back. Deion has those. So, yeah, it's another fantastic point. And everybody, his kids, his family, his friends, everybody who he's coached loves him. Marquise Buford is a product of him. That guy's a stud. He's in his second season at Nebraska. The guy's a starting safety. Very bright future. Potential NFL football player. So, yeah, everything about him is fantastic. Kyler, thank you for the $5 super chat. In Trev, I trust. Make Nebraska great again. There have been a lot of people who say they don't trust Trev Alberts. And no matter what direction he goes, not everyone's going to be happy. The Badger's going to be furious if it's not Deion. I'm going to be a little bit sad if it's, honestly, if it's Lance Leipold, I'll be a little underwhelmed. There are positives, though, to all of these guys. And we don't know who's going to work out. We don't know who the best option is going to be. And it's all a crapshoot. It's all a gamble, right? Because it's all a gamble, let's hope that Trev did all the research that we weren't able to do. What we could do, what I did, is I went online. I watched a bunch of film. I listened to them speak at press conferences. I listened to them speak at public speaking events or whatever. And in those moments, I try and learn as much as I can about the coach. In those moments when I'm sitting down focused. But I never get to have a face-to-face, a one-on-one, to hear exactly what they think it would take to win here, what their game plan is, and how they would right the ship, right? Kind of like what we've heard from Mickey Joseph these last, 10 days or so in these last two press conferences. I guess it's really been 5 days. But in these last two press conferences, Mickey Joseph has given us a lot of insight to how to win and how he would do it. Trev's having those conversations with these coaches, face-to-face, one-on-one, and he's getting this vision. So because of that, I've got to trust him. He wants to win the same way we do. He's a fan, just as big a fan as any of us are. That's important. MJM, thank you for the $5 super chat. We appreciate you. Caden says, do we give Richard Torres a shot if Casey doesn't come back next year? Yeah, I think all these quarterbacks, you got a new offensive coordinator. I think all these quarterbacks are going to have to compete. We don't know who's going to be the starter. You would guess a transfer portal comes in, a guy from the transfer portal comes in, because that's what college football is today. And depending on who this next OC is, what type of offense they're going to run, who knows who's a fit. So, yeah, I think Richard Torres absolutely gets a shot, but I think Heinrich does as well. I think if Logan Smothers is here, he does as well, although I think he's more of a long shot at this point. Point is, we don't know enough until we see who the coordinators are, and then we'll start to have a little bit better of an idea. MJM, so this is your super chat question. You said you joined the live stream late. What do I think it means Trey and Garrett aren't doing senior day. Are they coming back? They know something we don't. Okay, so yeah, we talked about this earlier. Garrett Nelson not walking on senior day is a statement. It means he is coming back, or he at least plans to as of now, unless something crazy happens. Because he could obviously walk, and then he could change his mind later and say, I'm still going to come back, right? Trey Palmer, we don't know for sure. Mickey Joseph just said that he thinks, I think he said he thinks, he didn't confirm it, that Trey isn't going to walk. Another statement, very bizarre. It makes sense, though. He hasn't had the best year. He's had some moments where he's shown excellence, but he has also had some moments where things haven't gone his way. Wasn't entirely his fault. I think he would thrive if they had a little bit more balance on offense. Actually, I know he would thrive if they had more balance on offense and if they could throw the ball to him and get him some more opportunities where he's not the sole focus and the sole guy the defense can focus on. So if he did come back, I think it'd be great for him, and I think there's a really good chance he will, because at this point, Garrett is an undrafted free agent at best. Trey Palmer is at best a 6th or 7th rounder, in my opinion. They both would do a lot better in their futures as football players if they came back for one more year with this next head coach, I would hope. That's what I think it means. Do they know something we don't? I don't believe so. I don't think anyone knows anything. I don't think Mickey Joseph knows. Trev Alberts knows, but I don't think any of the media knows. No one has any idea. The only thing they might know or might have a feel on is that Mickey Joseph is going to be back. Maybe Trev is, pushing, saying, hey, we want you here. We want to keep you here, blah, blah, blah. And because of that, we know Mickey wants to be here, so that puts him in a good position to come back in 2023. But none of us know anything at this point, and we'll just have to see. So the Badger said he trusts the AD. He won't be mad either way. He just has his top pick for the reasons he said. So, I agree, Badger. I agree. I don't know if you're still here. I'll text him back in a little bit. Let's see here. Getting back to chat, guys. Hulk, thank you for the $2. Dion stays if he wins the FCS Natty with Jackson State. He very well could. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think Dion is on his way out very soon here. He knows and he wants to be the best. He knows he is the best. He knows that he can coach at the highest level. And you're not going to coach at the highest level at Jackson State. You're just not. Because you're never going to be able to recruit as well as you're going to be able to recruit in the big league, right? In the Power 5. You're never going to be able to play as good a competition as you're going to get to play when you're in the Power 5. And he wants to play against the best. He wants to prove it. Dion is not doing this for money. Maybe a little bit, but for the most part, he's doing this for pride, ego, because he wants to build something, because he wants to prove to himself and to others he can do it. Dion's doing it because he wants to do it. And when you want to do it and you want to get better at it, he's not settling just hanging out. If he was settling just hanging out, he could go back and be a high school coach and chill in Texas, right? No. He wants to be competing against guys for championships. He wants to be D1, and he's going to be D1, I think, at the end of this year. If it's not Nebraska, it's going to be somewhere else. And if it's not at the end of this year, it'll be at the end of next year. He's taking a job in the next 400 days, like it or not. Jackson State, unfortunately. Swagnar says, I think if someone knew, it would have been leaked, other than a few tip end officials. Yeah, that's the thing. Nothing that's come out has been any legitimate rumor, right? So no one knows anything, because it's not like, oh, well, here's a text from a player or a group thing that happened on campus, or something that happened from the administration. There's been nothing. There's been barber shop. There's been, oh, my friend knows a donor. There's been, oh, a flight tracker says this. Nothing. Yeah, nothing's been leaked. No one knows anything. Gannon says, do you think it's interesting that Nebraska has a walk-on QB ahead on the depth chart instead of our scholarship QBs, Harburg and Torres? I do think it's interesting, and it did strike me this morning. But it's a testament to how well this walk-on has been preparing. And he obviously wants to be, I don't know if you'd say, he obviously wants to be a starter. Everybody wants to be a starter. But he obviously believes that he has a chance to be, and that's why he's playing at such a high level. Keep in mind, these guys are all buried on the depth chart. Number 1 is Casey. Number 2 is Chubb. And number 3 is Smothers. Anybody else after that, I don't even think travels to games, right? So it's interesting to me. But I mean, when you get that deep down the depth chart, there could be injuries. There could be guys who aren't as checked in. I mean, who knows what the reasoning is? It is odd, but I don't know. I don't know why. It's so far down the depth chart. Who knows? Who knows? Connor, how bad will it be if Trev doesn't announce the week after Iowa? Well, it'd be terrible. It's not even a thought in my head. He's gonna announce immediately. He has to. He has to have his decision by probably 3 or 4 days before Iowa. He has to lock it in, pen to paper, know who he's going with so he can announce it, and so that coach can start recruiting immediately, right? There's a bunch of players who are going to have to enter their names in the transfer portal, and he's got to make sure that coach is there to talk all those guys through that situation, figure out his numbers, and figure out what he's got to do damage control-wise, right? Build out his staff, everything else. So it would be a problem if it was the week after, I think, at least in my opinion. And maybe it's not as big of a deal, but to me it feels like that'd be bad. Jeremy gifted 1 Corn Craze membership. I'm not sure what that means, Jeremy. Thank you for buying a membership. I saw you are a member. We appreciate all the support. Crypto Badger. Okay, dude, I thought you were gone. You texted me. I thought you left. Okay, we're back with the Badger. Thank you for the 50. Both guys have things to prove if they hang and feel confident in the coaches. It never hurts to grow for a year and work on skills. That's the thing. If you stay one more year, you get to go up against competition and you get to get better. If you leave early for the pros, you're just fighting for a roster or a practice squad spot. If you can develop your skills against guys who, are similar competition, it will put you miles ahead of the guy who leaves early and just tries to go and make it on a practice squad. At least that's my opinion based on what I've seen. Stay the extra year, put the work in, grind it out against light competition, and maybe you're going to learn some things from hopefully these really good coaches who come in. I mean, Mickey Joseph's already good, so Mickey Joseph is for sure going to give Trey some more tips and give him a lot more opportunities to be successful next year. Garrett Nelson, in my opinion, has been absolutely screwed in his coaches when it comes to the D-line at least. And he wasn't a part of the Tuioti group, I don't think. He was an outside linebacker, so maybe that's a little bit different. But this year with Dawson, I think he's been screwed. Point is, yes, if you can get him back, it's going to do wonders for both of them. And yeah, I think it'll be big for Nebraska because you'll get a head start on culture. You'll have guys who want to be here, and it means something when you have players who want to be at Nebraska, right? You don't have the entire roster saying, "Screw this place, I'm out." It's like, wow, there are other guys who want this. There are other guys who could have been out and gone to the NFL or gone and got their life started, but they wanted to be here even though this has been a mess. That just says something about their leadership, about the culture here, and about, how special of a place this is. I promise you, these new facilities are going to be freaking beautiful. The attendance next year at games is going to be as great as it's been when we've been terrible. So there are a lot of positives to being a Nebraska football player. And on top of that, haven't even mentioned it, they're both going to get some NIL money, so that doesn't hurt either. Either way, their bills are paid, they're living life and having fun. So, yeah, that's my thought on it. Oh, Jeremy says, anyone heard a report on Whipple's status for this week? I've been busy since the injury. Any lasting effects or whether he'll call plays? Yes, Whipple's good to go. I think he's recovering from his injury, but he's good. He's going to be coaching. And he did call the plays in the second half last week after they had him on the sideline and were working on him. But yes, Whipple is healthy and good to go. We're in the last two days for, the last 2 games for Mark Whipple. So enjoy him while we have him. I'm not sure if he'll be coaching next year somewhere or if he's just going to retire because of his health. But either way, we gave him a shot. It was fun. He just wasn't the right guy with the offensive line we had. And thank you, Jeremy, for the $20 super chat. It means a lot. Thank you for the support. Bottom G, I hope your question was answered just now with, do I think Whipple is done? Because no, I don't think Whipple's done if he's healthy, but you never know. You never know. He might say, I'm 65 or going to be 66 and I got to tap out. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. Okay, Badger, thank you for the 20. You think Torres will be a beast? Time will tell. Does Torres run? Does anyone know his 40 time? Is he a straight pocket passer? My knowledge of him was that he has a cannon. He's 6'5", and he throws the ball deep downfield. Does he fit for an RPO? Or is he meant to stand in the pocket? I think he's going to be a beast because of his size and his arm talent, but it's going to take the right coach to unlock it. So, yeah, like you said, time's going to tell, but that'd be interesting if Torres did pan out, because that would be a big-time arm at Nebraska. And, man, we haven't had a big-time arm at Nebraska in a long time. I mean, who's the best arm ever at Nebraska? Who had a cannon? Tanner Lee was supposed to be, NFL pro-style quarterback, and that was kind of, ugh, don't even want to talk about it. Let's see here. Fluffy Midget says, how does Meyer's fourth-string QB win a natty, but our second-string can't win a game? We're talking about depth and talent, right? So if you look at the depth and talent for Nebraska versus Ohio State, Ohio State's depth back then was 4-star guys. This was before the portal, by the way. The portal changed things drastically, and the things aren't the same as they were before. At Nebraska, we probably would have had a little bit more depth at quarterback in the past. We've lost some guys. We lost Luke McCaffrey. We lost Noah Vedral, who probably should have gotten some more opportunities. But the point is, it was a different time, and Nebraska wasn't recruiting at as high of a level. At least they weren't recruiting at as high of a level as Ohio State was for depth at quarterback. And yeah, we're not going to win any big games with a fourth-string quarterback when our fourth-string quarterbacks couldn't start in the Power 5. It's just a fact. Ohio State at that time, before guys would leave for the transfer portal, at that time they had 4 quarterbacks on roster who were all potential NFL players and who all could play at any school in the country. I mean, there was a time when you had JT Barrett, Cardale Jones, Dwayne Haskins, all on the same roster. Joe Burrow might have been on that roster. I don't even remember. But the point is, yeah, it's a different level of recruiting, right? Different level of talent, and the depth there is just different. Nebraska needs to get some depth like that, and that's what Mickey Joseph said. We need to build the depth to win in the Big Ten. When you're playing in the Big Ten, you're gonna get injured throughout the season because these are big bodies smashing on each other. You have Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota, Michigan. They all like to run the ball downhill. And that wears your line down. It wears your running backs down. Eventually it wears your quarterback, receivers down, and everybody else. So if you don't have your second and third team guys ready to roll, like those other schools always seem to, you can't win. And that's been the issue that we've had. Andrew says he's 95% sure it's Matt Rule. 95? I don't know about that, brother. 95% is pretty high. You tell me what information you've seen that gives you a 95% chance. You also say Fedoni's most likely in the portal. I know nothing about that. I've seen that he took down some Instagram posts, took down Nebraska off his Twitter or something. I didn't look into it, but people sent me screenshots. Yeah, if he entered the portal, I would be pretty heartbroken, but I'd also understand. He's had some bad breaks here, and it doesn't seem to have worked out yet. Bottom G says, when's our $150 million facility going to be done? Facility will be done in June or July. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait to go out and see it. Hopefully, I'm going to go out. I'm going to try to talk to some of my friends over at Nebraska, and I'm going to try to give you guys a full tour, like that first week it opens. So I'd have a camera guy go with me. I'll film the whole thing. I don't know. I'm going to pitch it and see what Nebraska says, see what the university says, because that'd be an awesome YouTube video. We'll see. Let's see. Daniel says Matt Rule is a trap hire. I don't know if he's a trap hire. Do we think that? He was impressive before his NFL debacle, right? And there's a lot of coaches who've had NFL debacles who came back to be successful. So just don't worry about it too much. I honestly don't think it's something we can get too worked up about. Jeremy, thank you for the 20. We appreciate you. Anyone heard a report on Whipple's status for this week? Oh, we already talked about this one. Okay, I scrolled up too far in chat. Let me get back down. Okay. Gannon says, what does Casey practicing mean for the Wisconsin game? He's an important asset for that game. I think it means he's probable for this week. And someone, when I was looking at Twitter earlier and doing a screen share, said that he's probable, like one of the media members. If he can't grip the ball with his pinky, he can't play, right? Well, I guess he could play. He's just not going to be as effective at a deep ball. Maybe he can just flip him out 10, 20, 30 maybe, 30 yards. But we're not going to see anything crazy from Casey if he's not full strength, right? So even if we do get Casey, my guess is we're not getting the Casey we saw before Rutgers and Indiana. We're going to get the banged up version. Maybe the Purdue version or the Illinois version. I mean, at this point, any version of Casey's great because it opens up the playbook a little bit more. We have a little bit more of a downfield passing threat, a guy who's a little bit more accurate. So obviously, I would hope he plays. But yeah, man, who knows? Who knows? Bart, thank you for being a member, and I'm happy you're here too. We appreciate you. Jeremy says Whipple will be in the box. I didn't see that, but that'd be interesting if he was. It would make sense if he is. I wonder how the game's going to change or how his play calling will change if he's looking at it from above. And my question earlier about Torres 40, he says he runs a 4.9. That makes sense. And he didn't run in high school. Copy. Michelle wants to know if we can pull out a win this weekend. So, I said this earlier on the chat, or to the chat. My thoughts here are that Nebraska probably loses this game by 10 this week. Just keeping it real. If we have Casey, I think we compete, and this is a 3 or 4 point game either way. I would hope we can pull the win out. But yeah, it's going to be really tough. Wisconsin's playing good football right now. The problem is they're not playing good football. They're playing decent football, right? But compared to Nebraska, that's good football. So Nebraska's playing better football than Nebraska's playing, and that's going to be probably enough to beat Nebraska with Logan Smothers playing injured if we don't have Casey, or with Sinek playing quarterback who's never started or never played in a college football game, period. What I've tended to do in the past is I give you guys my predictions based on Nebraska's starters. Well, as soon as one of those starters goes out, Nebraska ends up losing. Nebraska ends up not being able to perform at a high level, and we end up getting screwed. So, yeah, I don't want to jinx us and say we're going to lose and have us lose, but it's going to be an uphill battle this week. So, I have faith. I do believe they can compete with this team. It's going to be tough. But thanks for being here, Michelle. Thank you for the question. You're always cool in the chat. I always see your comments. Dash Camera, thank you for the $10. I'm going to send this over to the NIL fund to make sure they can buy an offensive line, because you are damn right. We need that ASAP. If we don't get the offensive line fixed, man, we are just in the gutter for even longer. We got another, 4 or 5 years of this shit? I don't want this. Fix the O-line now. Ugh. Bottom G says Braylon Allen's going for 500 versus Nebraska. Well, fortunately, Nebraska's defense is playing pretty decent, and Braylon Allen doesn't have an offensive line right now. So, yeah, not too worried about Braylon Allen. I'm sure he will run for 150 plus, but 500, no, sir. No, sir. TJ says, do you think Anthony Grant stays? I talked about this earlier in depth. I think Anthony Grant would really benefit to playing behind a good offensive line, and he has a chance to go over 1,000 yards this year. And if he can, if he can get an offensive line for next year in a better scheme, I think he could go for 1,200, 1,300 yards, maybe more. And that would do him wonders in his draft stock. So hopefully he stays for his own sake. That'd be awesome. But, can't control anything. If he leaves, he leaves. And we have other guys like A.J. Allen, hopefully, who comes back. And yeah, I'm excited for the future of this run game, let's say. Put it that way. I like this comment. One man, many things. He said he watched the video. He said they didn't contact him, period. This is regarding Deion Sanders. Yeah, they probably didn't. Nebraska probably didn't contact Deion. They contacted his agent. I'm actually very confident they contacted his agent. I would bet a lot of money on this. The agency for Nebraska reached out to Deion's agent and said, would you be interested in Nebraska, or whatever they said. I don't know what it was, but they did contact him. And they told Deion that Nebraska contacted him. And Deion said in his video, I haven't had conversations with Nebraska. Yeah, I'm sure you haven't, but you have had conversations with your agent, who did have conversations with Nebraska. And you knew They reached out about that Nebraska job. And you did lie to your team, just like we expect you to, just like every other coach in college football does, just like Mel Tucker did, just like Nick Saban did, just like Lincoln Riley did, and all coaches going forward, Lane Kiffin included. They all will say, I'm not leaving. All right. Talk to me in 2 weeks. What's up? 2 weeks from now, where you at? 2 weeks. Did you lie to your team? What's up? I don't want to hear this. This is BS and you know it. One man, many things. Come on. You know. You know how these coaches are. And I don't fault any of them. I'm not calling these coaches liars, but they know how to say the right things so they can double back. Right? They know how to say the right things so they can say, yo, look, I didn't talk to Nebraska, but, I knew maybe they'd want to call later, but I didn't talk to him. Lincoln Riley, I'm not leaving for LSU. Absolutely. You're crazy to think I'd leave this place for LSU. Meanwhile, texting with USC boosters, how much money you got for my NIL? I'll be there in a week. These coaches lie. And it makes sense why they do. And it's fair that they do, because what are you going to say? Hey, team, 100 of you guys I've been with ride or die for the last 3 years, and look, you're awesome, but this school, it's not doing it for me. I'm going to get more money over there. I'm going to get more resources over there, and none of you are champions the way I want to be coaching. Like, you can't win a championship to the level I want to win at. Maybe you can win an FCS, but I want to win the Big Ten. I want to win a Natty. I want to get to the playoff. So, peace. What coach in their right mind would say that? Why would Lincoln Riley go to his team and say, you know what, guys? Look, I had a long, hard thought. Oklahoma, blue blood. We've been to multiple playoffs together. We've had a great run. I've got a dog named Boomer and a dog named Sooner. I'm all in. Quote, unquote. I've been all in. But I'm out. Peace. I'll be with you for this week. But after this week, after this Oklahoma State game, peace. What? Doesn't make any sense. Just like Dion saying that he would leave makes sense. Anyway, sorry guys, I got on a tangent just because, bro, you know damn well you're smarter than that. Because if you're watching my video, I know you're smart. I don't have dumb people who watch my videos. Everybody who watches my videos is smart. Everybody who's part of Corn Craze is intelligent. I know they are because I read the comments. We got a lot of smart people here. These coaches will lie through their damn teeth. Okay, different question. Let me get back on track. Bang, bang. I haven't been paying attention, but what happened to Teddy Prohaska? Teddy Prohaska hurt himself this year. I think it was a knee injury, and that really took him out. So he's done for the year. Do I think we get a transfer quarterback next year? I would assume. Every time you get a new head coach in, you got to assume a new transfer is going to come in, unless you run an offense that's similar to what the quarterback already runs. So if you had Matt Rule, who runs the RPO, I think Casey Thompson can run an RPO. There's a chance he could roll with him. If it's a different type of coach who needs a different type of quarterback, you'd assume they'd get a different one. Mark Whipple, for example, needed a different type of quarterback. Logan Smothers wasn't the right one. So what they do, they went and got Casey Thompson. You see it all over college football. New coach, new quarterback. LSU, Jaden Daniels from Arizona State. Oregon, Bo Nix from Auburn when Dan Lanning came in. So all of these schools, with coach turnover comes quarterback turnover. It's just the name of the game in 2022, 2023. It's where we're at. Nebraska will be good before Colorado will. We're going to find out real quick because Nebraska plays Colorado in September next year. So it's at Colorado. That one's going to be a tough game. I just know it. But yeah, Colorado's just been bad. Let's see here. Do we have Nuili, or however you spell it, next year, or is he a senior? We get Nuili back. I think we have one more year with Nuili, and after this year, he'll be gone. I think. I don't remember. But the point is, we have at least 1 more year with him, and he'll be a huge addition. I think Teddy being back is going to be a big deal, even though he didn't perform that well this year. But I have a feeling there was something going on with Teddy where he had like a nagging injury, and it didn't allow him to develop as well as we had hoped he would. So hopefully getting Teddy back's a big deal, getting Wheelie's back a big deal, and from there, from there we'll be able to build something serviceable. Husker Gray says, should we look at Tom Herman? Yeah, at this point, no. He's a risk. Let's look at Tom Herman's history. What'd Tom Herman do that would make him a good Nebraska football coach fit right now? He was the head coach at Houston for 2 years. That's it. He went 13-1 and 9-3. And then he went to Texas with 7-6, 10-4, 8-5, 7-3. He won bowl games all those years. So he's good. Like, he has some wins. He has some proven success. But is that enough to say he's ready to come back to college and be good? Right now, he's an analyst with the Chicago Bears. He didn't even get another offensive coordinator job in college yet or any other. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, it feels like he's got to go back to a Houston or go back to a smaller school before he gets a chance at Nebraska. The risk you run is like a Brett Bielema. Brett Bielema could have been Nebraska's head coach, but Nebraska wouldn't give him a chance, just like they probably wouldn't give Tom Herman a chance. So then Brett Bielema ends up going and being good at Illinois and beats Nebraska twice. Maybe Tom Herman's that same type of coach, but we may never know. I think he'd be worth a conversation, and I wouldn't be surprised if Trev Alberts called him. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he called him, but I'm not sure if that'd be the right fit. We'll see. But yeah, Herman is way worse than Urban Meyer. So let's talk about that. Herman has some baggage. Herman, kind of an asshole, has a lot of, scandals with the cheating on his wife, and he has a lot. Multiple girlfriends, the whole thing. It's a lot. So if people didn't like Urban Meyer, and there were a lot of Nebraska fans who said they didn't want him, why would they want Herman? Like, he's way worse than Urban Meyer ever was. So yeah. There's no list, Jack. They talked about it in the press conference. The only two they had mentioned, it was Garrett Nelson, who said he confirmed he wasn't going to walk, and he implied he's coming back next year. And then Trey Palmer via Mickey Joseph, who said he thought Trey Palmer wasn't going to walk. So, yeah. And Gannon says, if we got Deion as a head coach, does he bring most of his staff and bring some of his players? I think he would bring a couple of his players. He'd bring his son, obviously. He might bring a couple of those 4 or 5-star guys. Who knows? But as far as staff's concerned, I think he'd bring a few. Not sure he'd bring the entire staff, but he'd for sure bring, maybe half, and then maybe fill half with the Nebraska money, because Nebraska's going to give him a very large assistant staff pool. So he'd probably be looking to make some moves. But who knows? It's all speculation. It's all fun. But guys, we've been on here for a long time, so I'm going to wrap it up in a minute. We went on here for 2 hours and 20 minutes. Laser says, what kind of expectations do you have for the next coach? 3, 4, 5 wins, a bowl game appearance. What's realistic? I think it depends on the head coach for me. If we got Urban Meyer, I would say we need to win 8, 9 games immediately, year 1. If we got Matt Rule, I would have very low expectations because his history says he's only going to win 1 or 2 games in the first year. If we got Deion Sanders, I would hope for 5 or 6 wins. So, yeah, it's indicative of the coach. We'll have to see. And I'll set expectations for them once he's hired. I'll for sure put those out there because I think that's important. We got to have measurables that we as fans can follow and hope they hit. At least to make it fun for us, because if they don't, we got to talk some shit after, right? Andrew, thank you for the $5 super chat. Said you love the content. You wore your merch on your way to Michigan for your first away game and ran into another Corn Craze subscriber on the plane. Dude, that's freaking awesome. That's why you wear the merch, because then people know who's watching the content. Guys, if you want, go to corncraze.com, my merch site, and I've got a code for you. 25% off anything you buy. Just type in GBR, and you get 25% off the website, anything on there. So that's the new discount code. And yeah, I'm discounting the merch because we're at the end of the season. I want to sell as much of it as I can. And yeah, so I'm discounting it. 25% off, code GBR. And again, I talked about it earlier. I'm going to go to Nebraska this week on Thursday morning. So I'll be in Omaha Thursday night. and a lot of people have wanted to meet up. So I got to figure out a bar or something to meet up with people at on Thursday night. Then on Friday, I'll be in Lincoln all day, and I'll probably have dinner in Lincoln, maybe go to a bar Friday night. I don't know. Kind of play it by ear. Saturday, before the game, I'll be out and about. After the game, outside the stadium, I'll be there. I'll post up my location on Discord, Twitter, Instagram, and here. And maybe you guys can meet up with me after the game. That'd be awesome. And then I'll probably be around Saturday afternoon, maybe go to a bar after the game or something, or be back in Omaha that night. I don't know. I'm going to try to coordinate with as many people as I can and kind of figure out one or two locations to be at, because a lot of people want to do a meetup. So that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, guys, with all of that, we've been on here for 2 hours and 20 minutes. I've got to get back to my video and start working on the Wisconsin preview. We had a fantastic night tonight. We got a lot of tips. It was huge. Thank you a ton for everybody's support. Again, I'll be back tomorrow with another video for the Wisconsin game. And yeah, with all that said, thanks for being here. Go Big Red.